Every game in the Final Fantasy series has such a wide, diverse cast of interesting characters with various backgrounds, motivations, and trials and tribulations that they have to go through. But if any main party member in a game like that stands out more than the rest, it would have to be the main playable character. I mean, it's hard to get characters like Cloud Strife, Zidane, Squall, and so on and so forth out of one's head. They're the character that we play the most with throughout the entire game, and therefore the one whose struggles and stuff we tend to care the most about. For a while, one of my favorite Final Fantasy protagonists was Zidane from Final Fantasy IX. Granted, I hated him at first, but he eventually grew on me as his character arc progressed. Frankly, I think his character arc is one of the best in the entire series, especially thanks to the genuinely heartfelt romance between him and Dagger. However, in 2024, I played Final Fantasy XV for the very, very first time, and I quickly fell in love with the main party. Their dynamic is absolutely incredible. And, very quickly, Noctis Lucis Caelum became my favorite protagonist. Noctis, the 113th King of Lucis and the son of Regis Lucis Caelum, is, in my opinion, one of the most tragic Final Fantasy protagonists in the entire series. Granted, I know it's pretty common for Square Enix games to have doomed protagonists. I mean, look at Zack Fair from Crisis Core, Tidus from Final Fantasy IX, or the Wayfinder trio from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. However, Noctis was the second one of his kind I had ever seen in the Final Fantasy series, and frankly, unlike characters like Zack Fair, we didn't know Noctis' fate from the beginning. In this video, I will do my best to analyze Noctis' story, along with his character arc and the prophecy of the Chosen King. I do have some disclaimers here first though. Obviously, there are going to be major spoilers in this video for the entire story of the game and a bit of the Dawn of the Future novel. As you can see from the runtime of this video, I have a lot of ground to cover here. I can't really skip over too much of the main game's events as, well, Noctis is the main character. If I were to skim over things and not summarize them properly, this wouldn't be a very good analysis, now would it? So, let's get into it. I'm Vince, host of Vince's World of Lore. Let's get into analyzing the story of Noctis Lucis Caelum. To get things started, I don't think we can really talk about Noctis and his character arc without really getting into the prophecy that foretold the coming of the Chosen King. That destiny is, lore-wise, the sole reason why Noctis exists, at least in the way that we see him in the main game. So we may as well get right into it. If you don't know about the end of the game yet and want to play it mostly spoiler-free, this is your last chance to leave. This game will have major spoilers and some kind of heavy themes, so that's normal for a Square Enix game. So, from the beginning of the game, we know really little about the actual prophecy. After all, the first chapter of the game is dedicated to trying to get Noctis to Altissa so he can marry Lunafreya. The earliest mention of the prophecy is actually the text on the very first loading screen, which reads, "In a time unknown, only a prophecy keeps hope alive in people's hearts. When darkness veils the world, the King of Light shall come." It's very vague, and intentionally so. Hell, from an early flashback of Lunafreya and Noctis, we only earn a couple more lines that don't even explain much of anything. To crown the King of Light is the calling of the crystal. Only the true king anointed by the crystal can purge our star of its scourge. But just what does that even mean? Well, millennia before the main game, there was an outbreak of a parasite that began mutating creatures, both man and beast alike, into monsters. This infection would later be called the Star Scourge, Plasmodium malari, and the Demon Infection. And the infected would soon be called demons. The main game is generally nebulous about the origins of the infection, but the German translation of the game outright states that the meteor found at the Disk of Cophis, the one that was cast down during the Age of the Gods before they fell into slumber eons ago, is the source of the infection. How or why this is the case is completely unknown, but I personally theorize that Bahamut could very well be the source of it for many, many reasons. No matter how it got there though, the infection ravaged the land. It was especially bad 2,000 years ago, right around the time of the founding of the Kingdom of Lucis. If you've played the game and all its DLCs, you know the tale. Two brothers, Arden and Somnus, were both up for the throne of the first king of Lucis, guardian of the crystal, and the first bearer of the Ring of the Lucii. Don't worry, I'm going somewhere with all of this. You see, Somnus was a lot more cold-hearted than his brother, resorting to burning the afflicted instead of offering mercy like Arden did. You see, he was jealous of the fact that people approved of Arden more, even though that was clearly because the gods had given him the ability to take the Star Scourge onto himself, curing the afflicted. In the end, this jealousy came to a head when he lured his sibling into a trap, killed the first Oracle when she tried to block a near-fatal strike from Somnus, and soon sealed Arden away in Angel Guard as he branded him as a monster. When Era, the first Oracle and Arden's fiancé, was killed, Arden had reached out to the crystal to plead for aid from the gods, and was basically rejected, thanks to how much of the Star Scourge he had taken upon himself. So, Arden was then sealed away, and Somnus became the very first king of Lucis. The Mystic, as he would later be known by the time of the game. Now, you might be asking, Vincent, why are you bringing this up? This isn't the Arden video. Well, there's two reasons. You see, the prophecy has two sides of it. Two people who were fated to be slain for the good of all, or so it said. First, there's Arden, thanks to the demonic energy inside of him. He's simply unable to permanently die because of that. We see that over the course of the game. Hell, in the final acts of the game, the main party is basically constantly squaring up with him and trying to murder him. But thanks to him having taken on so much of the demonic miasma onto himself, he ended up as an epicenter of the Star Scourge, even being able to turn people into demons with no effort whatsoever. Thanks to this, though, that gave the demons a source that could therefore be destroyed. I hit my microphone. In the alternate ending of episode Ignis, it's outright stated that it's beyond the power of the gods to purge the Star Scourge themselves. So, they needed a champion of sorts. This is where the Lucii come into the picture. Blessed by the light of the crystal, the Lucian kings, and by extension their retainers, are allowed a unique use of magic that's not seen anywhere else in the world. The royal arms do damage against beasts, especially demons, where normal weapons wouldn't be able to. Common items are given restorative properties, and they can wield honest-to-God magic, both in the usual Final Fantasy sense, and also when you look at like the armature from which they can conjure their weapons, and in the magical barrier that was once raised around the Lucian continent to protect it from attackers and demons alike. However, the Ring of the Lucii itself takes a horrible toll on its user, as does maintaining the barrier. The power of the Lucii feed into the prophecy itself. Throughout the course of the game, Noctis collects the 13 royal arms that are scattered across the world. Every time he picks one up and adds it to the armature, it levitates in the air and drives itself straight into his chest. It's a bit symbolic, but he staggers back every time, a look of mild distress or slight pain on his face as he raises a hand to his chest. It feels like a neat animation the first time around, but it does have meaning. The game is so vague about the King's Calling all the way up to basically the end of the game, Chapter 13 to be specific. When Noctis dragged into the crystal after reaching out to it for help, he finds himself face to face with Bahamut, who finally explains what the King's Calling is and just how the world will be freed from demons. And it isn't really a simple fix.
A power greater than even that of the Six, purifying all by the light of the crystal and the glaives of rulers past. Only at the throne can the chosen receive it, and only at the cost of a life, his own. The King of Kings shall be granted the power to banish the darkness, but the blood price must be paid. To cast out the usurper and usher in dawn's light will cost the life of the chosen. Many sacrificed all for the king, so must the king sacrifice himself for all.
To say that that's heavy information would be a severe understatement. Noctis was chosen as the prophesied King of Kings, the supposed savior of a great destiny and a group of close-knit friends. And his purpose as a chosen king, this glorious grand destiny, is to die. He is to be displaced from time for 10 years, floating in the crystal and absorbing all the energy and knowledge within, and then he's meant to sit on the throne for the first and only time, and die. It's not even a quick, painless death. When it happens, it's slow. Blow after blow. Noct looks like he's doing his damn best to stay upright, and almost as an insult to injury, the final blow is dealt by Zegnautus Lucis Caelum, his own father. Noctis is a lamb that is led to slaughter, one who didn't have time to process his fate until it was far too late. Sure, it seems like he comes to terms with it, but that seems more like he has done so because it's a necessity. He doesn't have a choice in the matter. He has to die or the world will be plunged into an eternal night. He is 20 when he learns this. Like, yeah, he's 30 by the end of the game, but he has not lived for the past decade. His final days are full of stress and both emotional and physical pain. This fate is outright cruel and unfair. But how does that fate impact him throughout the story? And how does it impact those around him? I think it's time to talk about Noctis himself, now that we've outlined his prophesized fate. Let's put aside Noctis' fate for now, and instead talk about his past. Specifically his childhood. When Noctis was 3 years old, Ignis Scientia, a young boy only a few years older than him, was appointed as his retainer and eventual advisor. This would eventually spark a friendship that would last most of his life, one that I'll get into in a bit here. But moving on from that, even though Noctis didn't know his fate, his father did. Getting a message from the Lucii or the Astrals themselves is probably how he found out that Noctis would be the chosen king. This information was given to him when Noctis was a mere 5 years old, mind you. 5. King Regis had to bear that. Bear knowing that his beloved son wouldn't live a full life. And he just had to keep that quiet for the next 15 years. And he tried so hard to be present and there for his son, but between keeping the magical wall up around Lucis and handling the war against Niflheim, he didn't have that much time. Despite that, he did his damn best to give his child a normal life, even having him be enrolled in a normal school so he could grow up around kids his age and would allow him to get his own apartment later in life. Frankly, all of that was probably a mercy. Noctis deserved to have some semblance of a normal life before everything went to shit. Though it doesn't mean that Noctis' childhood was uneventful. When Noctis was 8 years old on a drive heading back home, the car he was in was attacked by a fearsome demon known as a Marolith. The raging demon killed his attendant and gravely wounded him, though luckily King Regis came in time to save his son from the demon. However, his resulting injury was so severe that the king took Noctis to Tenebrae so he could recover, though he still has a noticeable limp to this day. Seriously, look at his walking and running animation. He does, in fact, have a limp. Fun fact, Arden has one too. I love little animation details in games. But there's something I'd like to note here. They had been deep within Lucian territory. They weren't within the confines of Insomnia itself, but they were still within the magical barrier that protects the city, I think. The magical barrier that's meant to keep both demons and attackers out. It's very likely that the demon that was unleashed upon Lucian soil there was part of a plot from Niflheim. Maybe an assassination attempt? It's hard to say, but I think it's pretty easy to assume that, seeing what they do next. Still, maybe this attack was a blessing in disguise? There in Tenebrae, Noctis met and befriended a young Lunafreya Nox Flore, Princess of Tenebrae and the future Oracle. They may have only had a very short time together, but it's clear in flashbacks and cutscenes that they must have been fast friends. Luna ended up explaining what the crystal was to Noct, and how King Regis was the protector of it, and also told Noctis that he was the one chosen by the crystal to banish darkness from their world. Granted, Noctis didn't know what that meant yet, but he still readily agreed to do so. They also then promised to keep in touch by sending messages back and forth using a little red notebook that they would send back and forth with Umbra, who is a messenger. I'm not explaining messengers here, just magical dog. Magical dog. But the two didn't get to see each other for long though. In time, Tenebrae was set upon by the Niflheim Empire. It's very likely that Niflheim was intending to kill both King Regis and Prince Noctis in one fell swoop, an attack that was headed by one General Glauca. In this attack, the previous Oracle gave her life to defend her son, Ravus Noxforay, who called out to Regis as he tried to bring Noct and Luna to safety. Lunafreya, however, let go of his hand to remain with Ravus, who was now in Imperial custody. From then on, Noctis and Lunafreya were only able to communicate with each other via the journals. However, Lunafreya wasn't the only friend that Noctis made in his youth. His relationship with his sworn shield and his sparring partner, one Gladiola Samositia, had a very rocky start. Gladio thought, to put it lightly, that Noctis was basically a spoiled brat. The two didn't really get along much until he brought his sister Iris to meet him. Iris eventually wandered off to chase a random cat, and Noctis was the one to find her and bring her back home much later. Noctis took the fall and the blame graciously, and when Iris informed Gladio of what Noctis did, he gained a new respect for the young prince. As for Prompto, Noctis met him in school, as a friend that he technically met in elementary school but probably made in high school once Prompto felt brave enough and happy with his own self-image enough to become friends with him. Frankly, I think Noctis needed a friend from outside of usual circle that treated him like a normal person. It is outright said that Prompto never treated him like a prince.
Never so much as a highness.
That was probably really good for Noct. Despite Prompto being the newest member of the group, he's clearly a valued member of the team and someone that Noctis is incredibly close with. As for Ignis, as I said before, the two met when he was appointed as Noctis' advisor when he was a mere few years older than the 3-year-old prince. The two grew up together, Ignis ending up taking on a almost like caretaker-like role for Noctis, that it seemed like he took for granted for a good long while. During those same teenage years, the two had some friction with how Noctis was, like, blowing off his studies, brushing off keeping up with anything happening between Lucis and Niflheim, and was just generally being really irresponsible. However, we later learn in the same animated short that this whole tale comes from that, even though it doesn't really excuse the actions of what Noctis did, but instead rather explains them, Noctis likely struggles with his mental health for one very specific reason in this time period. He's aware more than most teens would be of his dad's mortality. It's likely bad enough for anyone to be reminded that their family's gonna die, and of course a prince would be even more aware of that than most, just with how monarchies work. But I think anyone in the line of Lucis would have it 10 times worse than the average person, and Noctis has the worst possible iteration of that kind of crisis. Noct has seen Regis actively deteriorate as time goes on. But after all, bearing the Ring of the Lucii and maintaining the wall takes an insane toll. It has to be an intense toll after all, what with Regis's gray hair from age and stress, his leg brace, the obvious limp, and the cane he uses to walk. It's pretty easy to assume this is how all of the Lucian Kings turn out in time due to the power of the ring if they live long enough to get to that point. Between seeing his dad deteriorate more and more as time went on, and then having so much weight being on his shoulders, being the quote-unquote chosen king, it's no wonder that Noctis was worried and potentially even depressed due to that fact. Luckily, outwardly expressing all of this did actually help improve the relationship between Ignis and Noct, letting them see eye to eye and let them start to work on, more in tandem with each other, instead of Noctis leaving everything to Ignis. Even when considering all of this, and the crown that likely already lay heavily on Noctis' head, he had a relatively normal and happy Crown City upbringing. And with that, we can continue on and start to discuss the main game. The in-game year is ME 756. Finally, after centuries of conflict, the lengthy war between the Niflheim Empire and the Kingdom of Lucis is coming to an end, and a date for the peace treaty signing has finally been set. The terms are clear. Lucis is to cede all territories except for the capital city of Insomnia to Niflheim. This provokes strife and debate between civilians and members of the Kingsglaive who have differing opinions. But let's be honest, an end to the war is sorely needed. After all, it's been going on for about 400 years. As part of the peace talks, an arrangement is made so that Noctis and Lunafreya will be wed as a symbol of the peace. Noctis is tasked with making his way to Altissa, where he should be able to meet up with Lunafreya and get married there. His retainers, meanwhile, are tasked with making sure that he gets there safely. But soon, the day of departure arrives, and the group prepares to head on out.
The decreed hour is come. Set forth with my blessing, Prince Noctis.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Take your leave and go in the grace of the gods.
Right.
Well, princes will be princes.
So much for royal protocol.
Not like you had to deliver a formal address.
Your Highness!
What now?
I fear I have left too much unsaid. You place a great burden on those who would bear with you.
You're one to talk.
I ask not that you guide my wayward son, merely that you remain at his side.
Indeed, Your Grace.
We'll see the prince to Alticia if it's the last thing we see.
Yeah, what he said.
Hate to break this up, but Kor's got the motor running. Zegnautus, he's in your hands.
And another thing. Do mind your manners around your charming bride-to-be.
Your Majesty as well. Try to mind yours around our esteemed guests from Niflheim.
You have no cause for concern.
Nor do you.
Take heed. Once you set forth, you cannot turn back.
You think I would?
I need only know that you are ready to leave home behind.
Don't know about you, but I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Take care on the long road. Wheresoever you should go, the line of Lucis goes with you. Walk tall, my son.
A little something I want to point out here is the switch or change in King Regis's demeanor. In the first half of the scene, when they're in the throne room, he's a king, sending a prince off on a diplomatic quest. His words sound kind of stilted and formal. Hell, even Noctis seems a bit awkward referring to King Regis as Your Majesty. But then, on the steps outside the Citadel, it's just a conversation between a father and his son. It looks like Regis is trying to draw out this farewell as long as he can. He knew of Noctis' fate after all, and he was hiding the true day of the tree signing. Probably suspected Niflheim's treachery even now. There's a very real chance that Regis knew that he would never see his son again. So, he does his damn best to make sure they part ways as father and son, not as some kind of distant, overly formal duo of royals. It's better to have a final farewell be personal, rather than an awkward goodbye. But despite all of this, and despite potentially wanting things to stay the same for longer, the time comes for them to part ways. And so they do. The main party heads on out, though the trip to Golden Key isn't really smooth sailing as the party pushes the regalia too hard and too fast, making the car break down and forcing them to push it the rest of the way to Hammerhead.
I think we can forget about hitching our way there. Thought people were friendly outside the city.
You can only go so far on the kindness of strangers.
You're just gonna have to push her all the way.
I've already pushed myself to the brink of death.
Get up. Come on, car isn't gonna move itself.
Sheesh. I thought the car was supposed to move us.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Can it? Ready, steady. Push!
I know I probably don't need to call it out, but I really appreciate this scene as a good introduction to the main party and their character dynamics and the way they interact with each other. Also, it's a really painful punch to the gut on a repeat playthrough. Most Final Fantasy games take a while for the main party to warm up to each other, and most others also have a really high, intense opening. But Final Fantasy 15? It's calm, normal, and you can tell that these four characters already know and care a lot about each other even if you don't know about external lore. Their banter feels realistic. It's honestly perfect. Like, no matter if it's in cutscenes like this or in random party chatter, you can tell that this group is a genuinely good group of friends. Kinda makes me wish that another open world Final Fantasy game had party chatter. At least it'd probably make the time between story beats more interesting. But that's a topic for another day and another video. Putting that aside, as I said, the main party of this game really stands out with their pre-established relationships. I do wish that characters like Core and Aranea ended up as main party members, but the core 4 party members of this game have incredible chemistry and have enough, character and interesting things about them that they don't really need anyone else. Much like I've said in my previous videos, there's not too much to talk about for the first chapter of the game. After all, this first chapter doesn't really have high stakes. It's just establishing the world and the main characters' friendships. They honestly act like how you would expect a group of kind of naive 20-somethings on a road trip outside of their home to act. As for how they interact with each other, it's pretty easy to understand the vibes basically right off the bat. Gladio has almost like an elder brother vibe when in relation to Noct. He's willing to guide him and shoulder the weight of his burdens if need be. After all, he is the future king's sworn shield, and he's prepared to kill or die for Noctis in equal measure. The two are close, and it's clear they do care for a lot for each other, even when Gladio has to practically drag Noctis to train with him. As for Prompto, he is essentially an equal, a grounding force for Noctis, and he is just essentially the heart of the party. Despite Prompto's imposter syndrome, Noctis is always quick to try to get his friend to banish any negative thoughts about himself, both early and later in the game. As for Ignis, I'd say that he and Noct are the most close members of the party. The closest members of the party. Even though Noct tries to brush off Ignis's occasionally caretaker-like tendencies, he does seem to genuinely appreciate all that Ignis does. In the past, I've talked in depth about Ignis's blind devotion to Noctis, but I think Noct is just as devoted to him. They've practically been raised together. They've known each other for longer than the rest of the party have known each other. They basically can ground each other. This party may be a bit chaotic and often poke fun at each other, but they clearly have each other's backs, especially when it comes to dangerous situations. They're not afraid to make light about things. The party even teases Noct about his excitement about the upcoming wedding.
For our next story, Lady Lunafreya of Tenebrae has issued an official statement regarding the forthcoming treaty.
Words cannot express the joy in my heart on receiving word of this coming peace, nor the pride I take in my betrothal playing a part in this historic moment. On this joyous occasion, some have voiced cause for concern. The fear I will be unable to fulfill my duties as Oracle. Please rest assured, my marriage will not stand in the way of my calling. You will find me in your towns and villages, as you always have, and I shall continue to bless you all.
Lady Lunafreya will set forth from Tenebrae for her wedding ceremony in the coming days. Please be advised that during this time alone, her duties as Oracle will be suspended.
It's in the treaty?
Of course. Simple formality.
One of those symbol of the peace deals.
So it's more like a marriage of convenience.
Her ladyship seems nevertheless amenable to the prospect.
And Noct here likes the idea.
What's that? I do?
Buzz off.
A fairy tale, Lady Lunafreya back to the Crown City?
Nah, no need to rush to happily ever after.
Wow. Still can't believe you're actually tying the knot, dude. How does it feel now that it's finally happening?
Fine, I guess.
Ah, come on, you can't fool me. Any guy would be over the moon to marry her.
No big deal.
Yeah, whatever.
It feels like a genuinely realistic interaction between friends. After all, who hasn't teased a friend of theirs about their situationship? Prompto, Gladio, and Ignis are just a step away from being like, oh, you're so in love with her, half-mockingly. Honestly though, all jokes aside, it looks like Noct is genuinely happy to get married for Lunafreya, despite the teasing he endures. It makes sense though. Even though they've not seen each other in ages, they've been keeping in touch by sending notebooks and messages back and forth with the help of Umbra. It's essentially been a long-distance relationship, which is just as valid and loving as an in-person one can be, just with extra yearning. One of my best friends is in a long-distance relationship with someone who's on the opposite side of the world, and they are adorable together. I legitimately don't understand the people who try to say that Noctis and Lunafreya can't be in love just because they've been separated for years. It looks like Noctis is legitimately excited for this wedding, and we find out later that Lunafreya was just as eager. However, as we know, things don't exactly go according to plan. The party gets to Golden Key and is informed by a self-described man of no consequence that the ferries aren't running before he just wanders off. A fellow named Dino near the docks elaborates on this, informing the party that the Empire has shut down all transportation to and from Golden Key for the time being. He offers to help secure them away to Altissa in exchange for tracking down some ore, which the party swiftly handles. They then spend the night at the nearby hotel with the plan of heading onwards the next day. Though, as we know, things don't exactly go according to plan. The Empire was playing the long game, and there wasn't much that the Lucians could do.
Hey, morning.
Where's Specs?
Should be back any minute now.
What's that look for?
It's in all the papers.
What is?
Insomnia Falls.
What? This your idea of a joke?
I need you to calm down so I can explain.
I'm as calm as I'm gonna get!
There was an attack. The Imperial Army has taken the Crown City.
As treaty room tempers flared, blast lit the night sky. When the smoke about the Citadel had cleared, the king was found dead.
No, wait. Hold on.
We had no way of knowing.
What? Knowing what?
That the signing was last night. That insomnia...
But the wedding! Altissia!
I know. That was the plan. Yet the reports of the invasion are all the same. How could every headline in the kingdom be wrong?
Lies.
If only.
What else do we know? Well, then we can't be sure until we see it with our own eyes.
And that means we go back to Insomnia.
Might not be safe for us there.
Might not be safe for us here.
Turn back.
Yeah.
Just an aside here, I genuinely love how this reveal is done. In most other Final Fantasy games I've played, hell, other Square Enix games as well, the intensity of the story starts right away. In 7, you're immediately pitched into the first reactor bombing mission. In 9, you barely have a chance to breathe before you learn that the first mission you're being thrown into involves kidnapping a princess. 16 has you playing as the Phoenix Summon before throwing you into a battlefield that's being torn apart by the dominance of Shiva and Titan, whilst 8 throws you into a fight against Ifrit, and then immediately goes into an active combat situation as some kind of school test. But for 15, It takes a while for the other shoe to drop and for things to really get serious. You get to slowly get immersed into the world and get used to the main party's character dynamics without being immediately pitched into chaos and strife. But then an hour or two pass, and things get serious. The highly rendered cutscenes of Insomnia Falling are actually a selection of clips from the Kingsglaive film. It gives us enough information that things have gone horribly wrong in Insomnia, whilst intentionally leaving things incredibly vague. They're only giving us information that may have been reported in newspapers like the one Ignis retrieves to show the party. Who's the armored figure that killed King Regis? How did the Empire bring down the new wall? Just how many people died and how many were able to escape? We don't know, and we don't actually get to know unless we watch the Kingsglaive movie, which, of course, I recommend that you do. It's really good. It makes sense that the party reacts the way they do, with shock, horror, and disbelief. After all, it's confusing. How could it not be? Everything was going so well. The war was finally coming to an end. They were meant to just go on a quick, fun little excursion to Altissa, get Noctis married to Lunafreya, and then return to the Crown City soon after. They didn't know the treaty signing was going to be that soon. They didn't know what would happen. They didn't know that Luna would be in the capital city of Insomnia, though granted, that's something that took everyone in Lucis by surprise. Furthermore, how can they really trust what the papers say? Even though every headline's saying the same thing, who's to say they're not lying or embellishing the truth? It makes sense that the party decides to go back to Insomnia, even with all their uncertainties. Their sense of peace and stability has been shattered all at once. They don't even know if they're safe there in Golden Key, if their families are okay. Think about it. If King Regis is dead, what does that mean for the rest of the party's families? Gladio's father was Regis' sworn shield, and Ignis' family had been advisors to the Lucian kings for centuries. And what about Prompto's adoptive family? They were just civilians. Did they get caught up in the chaos? If the monarchy of the Kingdom of Lucis has truly been dismantled, then the party has lost everyone and everything. So, they go to see things for themselves. They have to confirm or deny what just happened with their own eyes, to see if they can even get to the Crown City, if they can lend a hand with recovery efforts, or if they can go to get revenge.
I hope everyone's okay.
A lot of good hoping's gonna do.
You mustn't lose faith.
Really? Can Faith stop a fleet of Imperial dreadnoughts?
Just give it a rest.
My old man had plenty of faith.
Enough.
The Empire lied. They betrayed us.
Conjecture gets us nowhere. We're searching for truth.
All you'll find are lies. Like that ceasefire.
Size of those things.
Imperial dreadnoughts. They transport soldiers, namely the Magitech infantry.
The robots?
Mass-produced humanoid weapons of warfare, to be more precise.
Doesn't look like they'll be signing that peace treaty. Up ahead!
They've set up an inspection point.
If the road ahead's blocked, then we find a way around.
This whole situation feels horrifying the first time you play the game. The sinking feeling that the previous scenes may have elicited only gets worse as the absolutely massive Imperial dreadnoughts come flying into view, and we soon see the blockade keeping the party from getting to Insomnia themselves. This is the very first instance that we get to see Niflheim's technology and the implications of just how many soldiers they might have. If that many soldiers are at the gates of Insomnia, how many more are in the city? What's happening is forcing Niflheim to send even more manpower and firepower. It's hard to tell. But it doesn't stop the group from pressing onwards. They desperately try to get a good vantage point to see what's been going on. Game design wise, I want to praise the way this game introduces the two main types of Imperial forces that we'll be dealing with from here on out. Station and bases and the like are standard human Imperial infantrymen, whereas Magitech troopers are often drop-off of Imperial dropships in the case of invasions, or, later in the game, just in the open world or when Imperials need reinforcements. Also, at the blockade, we get to passively see the Magitech armors that will serve as bosses and mini-bosses later in the game. The party, and therefore the player, work with the limited knowledge of what they already have about the MTs. They just look like robotic soldiers, and frankly, the party is too focused on getting answers to ask questions about what MTs really are. In time, the party finally makes their way to a vantage point where they can see what's become of Insomnia.
As the ceasefire discussions between the two nations, all provisional terms have been suspended in light of recent developments. Moreover, in the wake of the news of King Regis's death, we've now received word that Crown Prince Noctis and the Oracle Lunafreya have also been pronounced dead.
Keep it on. Don't bother!
So, you made it.
What the hell's going on?
Where are you?
Outside the city, with no way back in.
Makes sense.
Makes sense? Are you serious? What about any of this makes sense? The news just told me I'm dead, along with my father and Luna.
Listen, I'm heading out to Hammerhead. About the king. It's true. If you're looking for the whole truth, you know where to find me. Get moving.
Right.
What did the Marshal have to say?
Said he'd be in Hammerhead.
And the king?
Noctis' grief is palpable as he lashes out at Prompto and then at Core a little later on. And it makes sense! He's confused, scared, angry. He's lost his home, his father, and for all he knows, he's lost Lunafreya too. He has lost everything except for his free friends and the regalia, that being the car. And there's not time for him to properly grieve. They have to withdraw. It's dangerous for them to be that close to the city. Sure, he's safe for now. People aren't going to be looking for someone who's been reported as dead, but that's not going to last long. He never gets a moment to sit down, process, and grieve all that he has lost. And that takes quite a toll and causes him to lash out and repress things later down the line. The party returns to Hammerhead, forced to reconcile with the fact that there's no going back. There, Sid confirms that King Regis intentionally kept the true circumstances of what was going on from the party. It makes sense. Regis wanted to keep his kids safe, not just because of the prophecy, but as a father. Noctis learns a bit more about this from Core, but he doesn't have much more time to process this either, as he's basically immediately pressured into stepping up as king.
Marshal. At last, Your Highness.
Yeah. Wanna tell me what I'm here for?
The power of kings passed from the old to the new through the bonding of souls. One such soul lies before you. To claim your forebear's power is your birthright and duty as king.
My duty as king of what?
Now is not the time to question your calling. A king is sworn to protect his people.
And yet he chose to protect only one prince. Was that his calling? Forsake the masses to spare his own son?
How long will you remain the protected? The king entrusted the role of protector to you.
Entrusted it to me? Then why didn't he tell me that? Why did he stand there smiling as I left? Why? Why did he lie to me?
That day, he didn't want you to remember him as the king. In what time you had left, he wanted to be your father. He always had faith in you, that when the time came, you would ascend for the sake of your people.
Guess he left me no choice.
Kings goes with you, Your Majesty.
Major kudos to Noctis' voice actor here. Noctis hurting, angry, at Niflheim, his father, at himself for not foreseeing any of this, and Ray Chase expresses that incredibly in his vocal work here. It's clear Noctis doesn't know what to think, and is understandably resistant to taking up his calling in the arms of his forebears. It may be his destiny, but accepting all of this would just make King Regis's death real, an absolute undeniable fact. But he doesn't have the time to grapple with it. He has to take up the Sword of the Wise and has to proceed onwards to get the other royal arms. This is a general theme throughout the game. Noctis never really gets closure at any point. Sure, he's able to get revenge on Niflheim multiple times throughout the game by dismantling various Imperial bases, but that's not exactly healthy. That wound keeps on getting deepened and reopened over and over and over again as Noctis is forced to push his grief aside and focus on his really important quest. Yeah, the whole party has lost a lot, but Noctis also had the terrible burden of being a king of a kingdom that's been shattered, and the prophecy of the chosen king finally being relevant forced on his shoulders at age 20. A normal 20-year-old is not emotionally stable enough to handle all of that without crashing out. Frankly, a normal 20-year-old is not emotionally stable enough to handle finals week without crashing out, much less losing one's father, home, any sense of safety, security, and later the love of one's life. But that doesn't really stop him from pushing onwards. He's still a genuinely kind person who does get to enjoy seeing the sights of the Lucian continent and helping people along the way. No matter if he's fishing up some kind of fresh cat food, helping a researcher catch frogs, hunting down some hunter's dog tags, taking on random hunts himself, finding ingredients of Ignis, helping Gladio find flowers for his sister Iris, or pulling over at random spots to take pictures of Prompto. Noctis tries so hard to be helpful and live in the moment. After all, he genuinely loves his friends and loves the adventure that he's going on. Despite the hell they're going through, they are still on a road trip, at least for the first portion of the game. They stop to fish, to get photos, to remember the journey they've had so far. They talk and laugh around a campfire while enjoying whatever Ignis cooked up that night, staring up at the stars as it almost seems like all their troubles are miles away. They have quests to complete, but Noct, Ignis, Gladio, and Prompto still have a life to live. They seem to be taking every moment they can just to live it, even with the Empire hot on their heels. Hell, Noctis even gets to have something to look forward to when he later finds out that Lunafreya isn't dead. Honestly, then his sole goal shifts from just staying alive to reuniting with her. Despite all his grief, he looks like he's trying so hard to stay upbeat, which also isn't healthy. 3 of the 4 main characters in this game seem to cope via repressing and compartmentalizing their feelings, and Noctis is the biggest example of this. He doesn't even get a chance to relax after reuniting with Iris at Lestalem and tracking down another royal arm, as suddenly he's afflicted with the trademark Square Enix protagonist migraine, and visions sent to him by Titan, showing him the Disc of Cophis amongst other strange images. The party decide to head to the Overlook to get a good look at the Disc of Cophis, where they coincidentally meet up with the strange man from Golden Key, who now introduces himself as Arden. Arden offers to help get the party to a Disc of Cophis and heed the call of the Titan. The party reluctantly agrees, despite him being horribly shady, but surprisingly that doesn't end too poorly, as the fellow actually makes good on his word and the party is able to proceed. Soon, Noct claims the Blade of the Mystic, the weapon of the very first king of Lucis. Then Titan wakes up, forces the party to split up, and Noctis and Gladio are on their own for a bit as Titan is seemingly trying to kill them as some kind of test, because Lunafreya was able to ensure that the Archean could forge a path with the Chosen King. This boss fight is absolutely incredible, if not gameplay-wise, but spectacle-wise, though it is kind of fun. I just love the scale of some of the bosses in this game. I aspire to make giant set pieces and bosses like these in my own video games one day. But I really don't want to focus on the fight itself here. Rather, we do have a little moment here that's kind of important with Gladio. It's one of the few moments that we see that Noctis is struggling a bit.
Sick of this endless walking.
And I'm sick of your endless whining. Calm the hell down.
Get off my back.
Are you a man of royal blood, or aren't you?
Of course I am. I couldn't forget it if I tried. What about it?
I ain't saying that you've forgotten, but you gotta know something. You're not the only one who's having a tough time. We're all on edge. We Amicitia are the king's sworn shields. Guard the king with our lives. That's the way it's always been. I've embraced my duty, and I take pride in it. When you can't focus, I focus for you. It's my job, so let me do it, all right?
All right.
Despite how critical I am of Gladio, I do like that he takes a moment to try to knock Noctis out of the spiral he was in and offer to focus for him. Noctis is struggling, and having the weight of a challenge from a literal god hanging over his head isn't helping matters. In this moment, Noctis does need to focus up, especially as the Empire is here to try to kill the Archean themselves. So, he does, relying on his friends and working together with them. And luckily, the fight goes off without a hitch. They outright shatter Titan's arm, which just kind of feels badass. The same can't exactly be said when it comes time for them to escape though, as the party is basically forced to accept the help from Arden again, who is now revealed to be the Chancellor of Niflheim. And yet, despite being an enemy leader, Arden continues to be helpful to the main party, even when technically having the only remaining Monarch of Lucis at his mercy. The party is free to go, though the regalia goes missing and the region is basically under Imperial lockdown.
I still can't believe it. I mean, shouldn't the car have turned up by now?
We should wait until Cindy's done asking around the local garages before we despair.
Let's not fool ourselves. The Empire has it.
Then maybe we could ask Arden to help us out again, right?
The Imperial Chancellor.
He represents a problem, not a solution.
So where does that leave us?
Stranded, awaiting word from Hammerhead.
In the meantime, we'll have to hoof it.
Look, it's Umbra!
The party does soon get direction to continue onwards, as Noctis gets confirmation from Luna herself via Umbra that she is safe and alive. Meanwhile, the messenger Gentiana sends them off to get the blessing of Rama, the Fulgarian, during which Noctis gets more flashbacks of his time in Tenebrae, when he spoke with Luna and Gentiana herself about the king's calling. It doesn't take long at all, and the party is then off to infiltrate an Imperial base, disable it, and retrieve the regalia, though not without interference at the end.
Guys?
Long has it been, Noctis.
Ravis.
You received the storm's blessing, and yet you know nothing of the consequences.
Watch it.
Be still, all of you.
Not good.
Heir to a crown befitting no other. Witness his splendor and glory. All hail the chosen king.
Awful high and mighty for an Imperial rat, serving the enemy to hunt down Luna.
I do not serve, I command! The king's sworn shield.
You better believe it.
A weak shield protects naught.
Wanna go? Let's do it!
Should the Chosen fall, that too is fate.
I'd say that's far enough. A hand, Highness.
Not from you.
Oh, but I'm here to help.
And how is that?
By taking the army away.
You expect us to believe that?
When next we meet, it'll be across the seas. Just so happens we have business of our own with the tutelary deity, don't we? Fare thee well, your majesty. And safe travels.
You guys know that guy?
Ravus Nox Fleuret, first son of Tenebrae, and elder brother to Lady Lunafreya.
I legitimately wish that Ravus Nox Fleuret was a more present villain than he is in this game. We don't really get a singular secondary antagonist from the villainous faction in this game, which feels baffling. Final Fantasy VII had Rufus Shinra, the Turks, and most of the heads of Shinra are in Reeve. Final Fantasy IX had Queen Bran, but for 15, we have a selection of various important Imperial people that don't really get much time in the sun. Ravus could have proved to be a really good narrative foil for Noctis and a genuine danger to the party, especially as he just threw Gladio back like he was nothing, and his boss fight in the episode Ignis DLC is really, really good. And, of course, there are foundations for a proper rivalry between Noctis and Ravus. After all, Ravus shows blatant scorn for Noctis, and we later learn that he doesn't think Noctis worthy of the title of Chosen King. Furthermore, he loathes the sacrifice that he knows Luna will have to make in time. On the other hand, Noctis is equally disgusted by Ravus. In his eyes, he's basically a traitor. After all, he is now the High Commander of the Imperial Army, the very same army that is hunting down Luna. From an outside perspective, it looks like Ravus is willing to throw his own sibling to the wolves and throw away his own morals. Noctis is justifiably angry, and if Arn didn't interfere here, I think we would have gotten a proper boss fight against Ravus, which is a damn shame. I think we should have had a couple fights against him before he was demonified. Still, the party doesn't press their luck. They proceed as normal, returning to Lestalem, barely getting a chance to grieve the death of Jared, a kindly old man who helped them earlier in the game, instead having to go onwards to Cape Caelum. Technically, before they leave, Noctis has quite the dream sequence or vision about what could have happened if he set out on his quest on his own, but legitimately, I don't know what to make of this. I have over 300 hours in this game, and I don't know what to make of this dream sequence despite all the analysis I've done. Maybe I'll do a Fury video about it at some point? I don't know, if you want to see something like that, put it in the comments, maybe I will. Either way, onwards the party goes as the game proceeds as normal. They dismantle their Imperial base, gently making fun of each other along the way, they track down their royal arm, and soon safely make it to Caelum, only to split up with Gladio and go off to track down Mithril to fix His Majesty's ship. The party is again forced to work alongside Imperial forces, but if anything, teaming up with Aranea in the prettiest dungeon in the game is a delightful time that shows how willing Noctis is to work with those who actually have a sense of humanity and are willing to cooperate with him instead of immediately trying to kill him. We see that again later in the game and in the novel with a few different characters. The party retrieves to Mithril, meets back up with Gladio, and they're soon on their way to Altissa, but not before hearing some wise words from Cid and Cor. At last, the party is on their way to reunite with Lunafreya, but little did any of them know, this would be the last time that Noctis would set foot on the Lucian continent for about a decade. The party soon safely makes it out to Altissa, and they're able to quickly get settled as they prepare to search for and hopefully meet up with Lunafreya. However, they have to jump through a few hoops and tread carefully if they want to succeed in their goal. According to Wescombe, someone who was once a friend of King Regis, Accordo is in a rather tense spot, with the Accordo Protectorate harboring and shielding Lunafreya despite the Niflheim's empire's chokehold on the nation. There's also the upcoming rite that will call forth the deity known as Leviathan, as Luna intends to forge a covenant with the tutelary deity, so it will aid Noctis in the coming days. However, it seems like the entire city is on edge, and the officials within said city are expecting Leviathan to rage, putting the entire city's populace in harm's way. Before the party even has a chance to figure out what their next course of action is, they're interrupted in their conversation with Wescombe by the first secretary of Accordo, Camellia.
Gentlemen, I won't waste your time. My name is Camellia Claustra.
First Secretary of the Accordo Protectorate.
You should know, we have Lady Lunafreya in our care. And the Empire demands we surrender her.
What?
Yet I am loath to acquiesce unless we stand to profit. Hence I've come to discuss terms with the King of Lucis. If you've a mind to talk, come to my estate.
Look at that, guys! We've been invited to everyone's favorite part of Final Fantasy XV. Political negotiations? That's why I bought the game. All things considered, this is an important milestone for Noctis. Even though it is a bit dull on the gameplay side of things, especially if you're just trying to replay the final boss fight. But with how delicate the situation is, he can't just beeline to go see Lunafreya. He can't demand things of the First Secretary, he needs to cautiously make his way through a negotiation, acting how a king should. He can't rely on his friends, and the player has to make relatively quick decisions about what would or would not be the right choice. Camellia is worried about the safety of Altissa, and rightfully so, between what happened in Insomnia and the sheer amount of damage Leviathan might cause if provoked. So, Noct and Camellia have to come to an agreement. This moment might not be as symbolic as others in the game, but this is a significant milestone for Noctis. He really can't ignore the fact that he is the King of Lucis now. Though, what does that even mean when the Kingdom of Lucis is basically gone? And that comparison to King Regis kind of feels like a nail in the coffin. Noctis meant to take his place, at least for a time. I wish we got more insight into what Noctis might have been thinking here because the implications are a lot. Still, the party has agreed to very specific terms. All that's left is to wait for the next day and for the oncoming rite.
During the rite, we must see to it the Empire does not harass Leviathan.
Gonna be tough to pull off before the king receives her power.
And with 3 of us on evacuation detail.
Indeed, the best we can realistically do is to help the Hydrian help herself.
What kind of help you talking about?
Just like Titan, the Empire will seek to immobilize Leviathan.
Oh, with the harpoon things?
If we can dislodge them from the goddess, she will have a fighting chance.
Sounds good in theory, but don't push it. It's pointless, unless you can get that blessing.
Stay flexible, stay alert.
All right, will do.
The task the party has in front of them seems insurmountable. I mean, they are planning to face legions of Imperial forces and the Hydrian itself. That's gonna be quite the dangerous feat to pull off. After all, there's a whole city to protect, countless civilians to keep safe, and they have to make sure they don't die either. I wonder if Noctis worries about failing Altissa, about the Empire destroying yet another nation's capital like they had in Insomnia. That worry must have been weighing on everyone's soldiers, but most of all on Noctis' own. This whole game he seems haunted by grief, and I wouldn't be surprised if he feels guilty about what happened in Insomnia. Even though he didn't know the exact day of the oncoming treaty signing, he couldn't have foreseen what was to happen. I think Noctis might blame himself for what happened to his home and to his father. Still, even before everything devolves into chaos, Lunafreya is set to give a speech, and this is the closest Noctis will ever get to properly reuniting with her.
Dear friends, I stand before you today. With little hope the words I speak shall reach beyond these walls. For slowly but surely the light fades from our world, and as it does, the shadows shall loom ever longer until all succumbs to the darkness. Darkness that evokes terror, hatred, and sorrow in the hearts of men. The ashes of Lucis. A dream of peace, twisted into a nightmare of death and destruction, claiming innumerable lives and leaving myriad souls to suffer.
Luna.
Yet I beg you, do not surrender to despair. Have faith, for our gods watch over us. By their blessings, by the stars that light the heavens above,
our world will be delivered from the perils of the dark. I stand before you here in Altissia to call upon Leviathan, goddess of the seas, spirit of the deep. By the sacred rite, I will commune with the Hydrian. But first, I offer you my solemn vow. On my honor as Oracle, I will not rest until the darkness is banished from our world and the light is restored. Bless you all.
It's a rather bittersweet moment. These two practically star-crossed lovers are so close to each other, but they're so far out of reach. They can see each other, but they're unable to actually embrace or reunite with each other for over a decade. Their respective duties as the King of Lucis and the Oracle from Tenebrae come first, and therefore get in the way of the reunion they deserve to have. All they were able to get were a shared look and a nod, though I think for both characters that in of itself was enough for now. They finally had actual, physical, tangible proof that the other was alive. That, at least, seems to give characters the strength to throw themselves into their respective tasks. Soon, Luna begins to write, calling forth Leviathan whilst Noctis cutting his way through Imperial forces. Unfortunately, Leviathan isn't as benevolent as Rama was, and it certainly isn't keen on just letting the chosen king have his power without a trial. Instead, it's angry with the people of Altissia and with Lunafreya for daring to ask for its help. It does take some coaxing, but the deity does agree to forge a covenant, but at a cost. If Noctis fails to fell the Hydrian, it will drown the entire city of Altissia. Meanwhile, the whole party is set to work. The Hydrian isn't the only thing looming over the city as the Niflheim Empire begins its attack. We can see Leviathan from afar, but luckily the ever-resourceful Prompto was able to find a way to get Noctis close enough to request its power or start its trial. Unsurprisingly, the Hydrian isn't all too fond of the idea of just handing over its power, and so starts the first phase of what I believe is the coolest boss fight in the game. First things first, Altissia is honestly one of the prettiest locations in Final Fantasy XV. It's a large, sprawling capital city that's only rivaled by Insomnia in the final chapter of the game and in the episode Arden DLC. We don't even get to really play through and explore the whole city either. It's just that big. But the sight of these massive walls of water towering over and encircling the city whilst the Leviathan looms over it all, staying completely still until you go into a specific area that triggers the fight, it's beautiful and terrifying, especially when the boss fight starts and chunks of the city itself are dragged into the air with the sheer force of the Hydrian's power, the water level rising to a dangerous height whilst water sports are formed in the final phase of the fight. The stakes are incredibly high. Either Noctis passes Leviathan's trial, or the entire city of Altissia will be washed away. And the sheer scale of Leviathan is absolutely incredible. Noctis isn't even the size of its eyeball. It honestly seems impossible for Noctis to even put a dent in Leviathan's health bar. In fact, when damage does reach a certain threshold, it's clear he can't defeat Leviathan. Not on his own. And he's a bit too far away to prevent another tragedy from happening.
Now, about that ring. On second thought, you let him have it. And do remind him about the crystal.
Oh, Prince, your bride awaits!
I will pass the ring to the rightful king. prophecy is fulfilled. All enthralled to darkness shall know peace.
How sweet. But please, Lady Lunafreya, you first.
I do want to do a full deconstruction of this scene one day, but right now I want to focus on what's happening on Noctis' side. He wasn't strong enough to put a significant amount of damage on Leviathan and took quite a fall on what was essentially rubble. He's beaten down, paralyzed, and once again he's too far away to even try to protect someone he cares about and loves with his whole heart. He was only able to watch as Lunafreya was dealt a fatal blow. He couldn't do anything to stop it, to protect her. But Lunafreya isn't dead quite yet, as she calls upon the power of the Lucii and the royal arms to give Noctis a second shot in the fight against Leviathan, leading to the first instance in the game of Noctis channeling the proper power of the Lucii and a full armature, as it does include the Katana of the Warrior, the Trident of the Oracle, and the Sword of the Father, weapons that Noctis won't unlock for a good while yet. Now this is the real boss fight against Leviathan, and it's one of my favorites in the entire game. It feels triumphant as there's a feeling of urgency in the air. Altissa is in even more danger than it was before, even as it looks oh so tiny below us. Lunafreya is injured. We don't know if she'll pull through or not after the wound she was dealt. We have to wrap this up, and fast. And we do, in a fight that feels like it was pulled out of an anime or something. It's almost kind of Kingdom Hearts-esque. I can't help but compare it to the dark side we tend to fight in the beginning of most games, or the fight against World of Chaos in Kingdom Hearts 1. We're overpowered, and yet we feel pretty evenly matched against this literal deity, as even as we shatter its horns or break off its fins. Furthermore, it all comes full circle later when we'll see these mechanics in the final boss fight. Soon, Leviathan is vanquished, Noctis is knocked unconscious, and Lunafreya uses the last of her power to save his life, even as Titan shields the city from getting drowned by the still furious Hydrian. This is the first and last time we see that Lunafreya and Noctis are able to embrace, even as unconsciousness claims them, and one of their lives is lost.
Noctis?
Luna?
So, you found your way here.
And you found me.
A chance to see you once more. Who would have thought?
Well, what do you mean? Why wouldn't you see me?
Because my prayers have been answered. My calling fulfilled.
But that doesn't have to come between us.
You are the one, Noctis. The stars shine for you now. That which is yours by right shall be restored to you. Do you remember the flowers of Tenebrae? It seems so long ago. You'll find they await you still, blooming from hill to vale.
Will you be there?
Would that I could join you. But this moment will have to be enough.
It's not right. All I wanted was to save you.
When the world falls down around you and hope is lost. When you find yourself alone amid a lightless place. Look to the distance. Know that I am there. and that I watch over you always. Farewell, dear Noctis.
Back with us. I'll tell the others. Though it may take a bit.
You're hurt.
A small sacrifice in the greater battle.
And Luna?
She has passed. Umbra left that for you.
This is heavy. The entirety of Altissa is the start of a huge tone shift for the game, and the end of it is no exception. Things had a chance to return to some sense of normalcy. Noctis and Lunafreya deserved a chance to properly reunite and maybe even have some quality time before they continued on their quest to find the last three royal arms, retrieve the crystal, and fulfill the Chosen King's calling. They deserved to have that time, but they just weren't able to. Even in that cutscene, even in death, Noctis and Lunafreya were unable to have a normal reunion, to even touch or hug. Luna accepted her fate. It's implied that she accepted it ages ago, but all Noctis can try to do is attempt desperately to reach out. But in the end, the only thing he can cling to is the notebook they had been sending back and forth to each other for years, and the Ring of the Lucii, which is a burden enough even without putting on the emotional weight of all these recent losses associated with it. And then, of course, there is Ignis, who had fought so bravely to keep Noctis safe, willingly sacrificing his own health and eyesight, all for Noctis' sake. I'm not going to go into it here, but if you want in-depth analysis of episode Ignis and the sheer depth of his devotion, I recommend checking out my video analyzing his character. But what I will talk about here is he seems to have kept how he lost his eyesight a secret. Granted, that's because episode Ignis didn't come out a year until after Final Fantasy XV did, but I think Ignis was trying to spare Noctis additional guilt and stress over things he simply couldn't control. Even so, Noctis is understandably horrified. Whilst he was fighting Leviathan, or when he was unconscious, he doesn't know when, one of his closest and dearest friends was horribly, horribly wounded. Noct wasn't able to foresee what would happen in Insomnia at the start of the game, and soon after lost his home and his dear father. And now he's failed to defend both Lunafreya and Ignis, and even though it wasn't his fault, it's clear that he blames himself. The few weeks they spent in Altissa to rest and recover don't mend anything. Everything has just taken too much of a toll, and yet Noct needs to continue onwards, even when Ignis tries to give him an out.
How are you feeling? Noct. Perhaps it might be best if we brought our journey to a close.
Why?
It's just that, we've already lost so much. Too much.
Are you kidding me? That's exactly why I have to keep going. Because if I give up now, their sacrifices would have been for nothing. And you of all people, you should know that better than anyone.
The decision is yours to make, and yours alone. But do remember, we will stand with you always, and help you bear your burdens. Don't be afraid to let us share the load. I'll be back.
Despite Ignis's advice, Noctis still does have quite a few burdens to bear on his own. Long gone is the upbeat energy from the first half of the game. Things are only going to get worse for the main party from here on out. As we've discussed many times in this channel, tensions are rather high as the party finally makes it to the Niflheim continent. The nights are growing longer and longer, the train they're on is bringing them closer and closer to the imperial capital of Gralia, and tempers are rising.
So, we're gonna roll through Tenebrae.
Not before visiting the royal tomb at Cartanica.
You're sure you're up to that?
The wounds have mended. Eyesight's a matter of time.
The hell is wrong with you?
What?
We're not stopping in Tenebrae. You need to grow up and get over it.
I am over it. I'm here, aren't I?
Maybe when you're not too busy moping, you can look around and give a shit about someone worse off than you.
Let go of me.
How's that ring fit you? You rather carry it around than wear it? She gave her life so you could do your duty, not so you could sit around feeling sorry for yourself.
You don't think I know that?
You don't! Ignis took one for you too. And for what?
Enough, Gladio.
You think you're a king, but you're a coward.
Shut up! Don't do this! I get it, all right? I get it!
Then get a grip. Pull your head out of your ass already.
Noct!
Leave him.
Listen, I know I'm beating a dead horse at this rate. After all, this is the fourth and final time I'll be talking about this scene in my main character analysis series, but I haven't talked about this scene from one final angle. That, of course, being Noctis' point of view. So please, bear with me as I talk about this scene yet again. It's only been a few months in game since the main party left home, and ever since they did, everything's been falling apart. The fall of Insomnia, the death of King Regis, the Empire starting to hunt down the main party like hounds going after a fox, attempting to vanquish or making a pact with the gods of this world, and just trying to continue onwards and fulfill whatever the king's calling is a lot. Like, yeah, sure, they're getting some help occasionally, but half the time it's from an enemy leader that's all but toying with them. But to what end? Altissa could have and should have given the party a bit of time to rest and recover, maybe even process all that's happened, only for things to get exponentially worse. Despite Noctis' calling as the chosen king hanging over him like a sword of Damocles, his real goal has mostly been trying to get back to Lunafreya. And just as they were so close to each other, so close to reuniting, she was killed when Arden finally showed his true colors. It was only after that when the party has had a couple weeks to rest, recuperate, and process everything that had happened. Finally, Noctis has had some downtime, and when someone finally stops focusing on everything except the grief and stress that's been weighing down on them, that's when they'll finally crack. So, Of course Noctis isn't going to be in a good mental state. Of course he's going to have trouble moving on, acting as a king when he's lost literally everything except his free friends and his car. Of course he's not going to wear the Ring of the Lucii just yet. Not only does it take an insane toll on the wearer, even when simply holding it, but it has emotional weight too. So many people died to ensure Noctis' safety, but for what? What's the point when he was unable to protect everyone? Noctis seems to have coped with his trauma by suppressing it, whilst Gladio's coping with his own by lashing out. It makes sense that they would clash here, even though it's frankly unfair to Noctis. As I've said before, I think this freakout from Gladio would make sense if it was a little bit later down the line, after Prompto was pushed off the train. Or it would make sense if Prompto and Ignis were also mad have knocked, but they're not. They try to defuse the situation, though it doesn't work. I wouldn't be surprised if this whole fight only made Noctis feel worse. After all, he really hasn't been able to protect anyone thus far. How, then, is he meant to be a king when he keeps on messing up? How can he live up to expectations that he was never ready for? How can he be some prophesized king of a shattered nation when everything just gets worse at every turn and that nation barely even exists? It's not surprising that the next dungeon is more than a little bit tense. Gladio and Noct are at each other's throats the whole time, even kind of lashing out at poor Prompto when he tries desperately to lighten the mood. It takes all the way to the end of the dungeon and Ignis' interference to make sure that things get back to normal.
A moment.
Is everything okay?
It bloody well isn't. And I won't suffer this pointless bickering in silence any longer. Let's be frank. My vision hasn't improved, and probably won't. Yet in spite of this, I would remain with you all. To the very end.
Sorry, but I object. War is a matter of life and death.
But we'll be there!
It's not about us looking out for him!
Uh-huh. Well, then he should be free to choose.
There's more to it than just what he wants.
I know full well! I won't ask you to slow down. If I cannot keep up, I will bow out.
What says His Majesty?
Noct, you are king. One cannot lead by standing still. A king pushes onward, always, accepting the consequences and never looking back. Gladio, Noct will take his rightful place, but only once he's ready.
Have it your way. We're still taking a big risk. We better all be ready.
As I said in my last video, this was definitely needed. Both to get Gladio to back off, to get the party to stop pitying Ignis himself, and to actually allow Noctis to step into the role of a king on his own terms. It's not exactly something that even could be forced. In fact, Ignis even echoes King Regis' own words of advice, which seem to help Noct as well.
Listen well. A king cannot lead by standing still. A king pushes onward always, accepting the consequences and never looking back.
Noct, you are king. One cannot lead by standing still. A king pushes onward always, accepting the consequences and never looking back.
It honestly seems like something the entire party needed to hear, and as such, after this conversation, it looks like the relationship between everyone has been mended. The party's been going through hell. They don't need to be fighting each other when they're basically the only thing any of them have left. Though that doesn't exactly mean they're out of the woods yet, and frankly, I don't think things should have been resolved so quickly. Honestly, though, I think that's just a byproduct of my opinion that modern Final Fantasy games are way too short when it comes to the main story. I mean, it took me 20 hours to beat Final Fantasy 15 the first time. So, please, go back to 40 to 70 hour RPGs, Square Enix, I beg! But, just because everyone's made up, that doesn't mean that things are okay now, as, there's a new passenger boarding the train.
We're here for you.
Yeah. Let us help you. And we're off!
Are we clear?
Crystal.
Hey, watch your step.
You're not pushing onward?
Not at his expense.
Fair enough.
I talked about this incoming section in depth over in my Prompto analysis video, so I know full well that I might be restating some facts and events that you, the viewer, already know. However, seeing as I have to basically summarize the whole game so we can delve our way into Noctis' mind, I will be covering this upcoming section properly here too. And I don't mind doing so, because it's one of my favorite sequences in the entire game. So, let's get into it. Even though the party's dynamic has returned to normal, there's still an undeniable feeling of tension and danger in the air. Sure, they're safely on their way to Tenebrae, and there's not any more infighting right now, but that doesn't get rid of the sheer grief and stress that's been hanging over the party like a storm cloud. To make matters worse, they're delving further and further into Imperial territory, and the nights are just getting longer, as Ignis observes.
Where did he go anyway?
On a brief reconnaissance. Something caught my ear.
Hey, Captain. Mission complete.
Splendid.
So what caught your ear?
Rumors of longer nights.
They've been growing longer day by day.
There was talk of it back in Lucis, but recent days have shown an unseasonably sharp change. Should this trend continue, before long...
There won't be daylight.
Well, it's not out of the question. The Empire's already slain half of the Six. No wonder the whole world's in disarray.
I guess.
And longer nights mean more demons.
Seen that with our own eyes.
I happened to overhear a fellow passenger discussing this very same phenomenon.
So he sent yours truly to seek him out.
Nice police work.
Well, don't want to keep him waiting.
No, we don't. Back in a moment.
Sure.
Throughout the entirety of this game, we've basically been trained to fear the night. Cindy warns us early on not to travel when it gets dark so we don't get ripped apart by demons. Ignis will refuse to drive at night until you hit level 30, and even then it's a bad idea to do so without using the fast travel because demons will pop up directly in front of the car every 5 minutes or so unless you have the special headlights. Frankly, it's just smarter to travel at night on chocobo back or on foot, or to just avoid going at night altogether. Hell, in Altissa, you can pick up hunts for demons in the city, and even the tutorial lore talks about the dangers of longer nights and stronger demons. It makes sense for the party to be worried about this. Frankly, I'm surprised Noctis didn't go with Gladio and Ignis to get the information firsthand from whoever it was they're going to go talk to. But he doesn't. Instead, he stays put and is soon joined by Prompto, who ran to marvel at the sight of the perpetual blizzard around where the Glacian, Shiva, had died. But they don't get to peacefully appreciate the scenery for long, as time suddenly stands still, and an unwelcome person invites himself to the party.
What's going on?
It's a real mystery. I'm not liking that snow cloud. Kind of gives me the chills. Like, who comes up with this stuff?
What the hell are you doing here?
What's going on?
As a player, it makes sense for Arden to pop up here of all places. We did just see him get on the train at the end of the previous sequence, after all. But Noctis didn't. Even if we had prior warning, this all but blindsides our main character. So of course both he and the player are quick to strike. Why wouldn't he? He killed Luna. Noctis deserves to get some revenge. Yet Arden seems shocked, confused, fearful. Why? Is he mocking Noctis? Maybe. He has been basically toying with him and the party the whole game anyways. So of course Noctis would go for another attack. Why wouldn't he? It might not be a healthy way to cope with grief, but anger is one of the 7 stages of it after all.
Easy there, buddy. Oh, didn't see that coming. You all right? Shut up! Be careful there! Wait, is this for real?
The weird thing is, as you see here, Arden just seems even more confused by Noctis' justified attempts to kill him, and quickly flees like a coward. This whole entire game he's been cryptic, holding all the cards close to his chest and pulling the strings. He's been completely at ease, calm, collected, confident, and now, after killing Luna Freya, he has the audacity to run? To try to hide? Is he a coward now that the consequences of his actions have caught up to him, or is he just mocking Noct now? Of course Noctis follows. He can't let this bastard get away.
What? Oh.
yourself!
Knocked.
That son of a bitch.
Come on, Knocked. You're scaring me. Seriously, man. Cut it out. It's not safe. Plus, you're causing a scene. Quit playing.
You think this is funny?
Dude, are you seriously trying to kill me?
Why wouldn't I? I've got you now. What are you after, following me around this whole time? It's all your fault!
What are you talking about? Do you really mean that, Knocked?
Of course I do! You can't talk your way out of this.
You won't even let me. Knocked, please. Can't we talk for a sec?
Never.
Running, hiding, now feigning ignorance? Calling Noctis by his nickname? The audacity this man has is unmatched, obviously. Frankly, it looks like Noctis is ready to outright throttle Arden at this point, but the sequence ends as an explosion rocks the train and Noctis knocked out. When he comes to, it looks like Arden is long gone. Luckily, Prompto is here to help him to his feet and fill in him on why the train stopped.
Knocked. Are you okay?
No. Where's Arden?
Wait. He's here? If he is, that would explain all this weird stuff happening. I bet he's behind the train stopping. Ignis and Gladio went up to inspect the engine room. I say the two of us go check out the rear.
Yeah.
Are we under attack? Did they bomb us? Knocked! We have to protect the people! Looks like they've got the train Head to the next car!
Leave these guys to us!
So much for a safe ride. More of them might be on board. Let's check the rear.
We need to get the train moving again.
I'm sure Ignis and Gladio will come up with something.
I hope so. Let's go.
How bad do you think? I hope nobody got hurt. Crap! The MTs can self-destruct!
Can't let them inside.
Well then, we take the fight to them!
Prompto might sound a little off here, and he's not exactly panicking like we'd usually expect him to, but Noctis has bigger fish to fry. With Arden having disappeared to God knows where, and Magitech troopers advancing on the train as they speak, Noctis and Prompto are the only things protecting the civilians on the train from the advancing Imperial forces. There's no time to process any small details. The Empire's done enough damage. They have to try to save people where they can. And so they do. In time, the train starts moving again, but it's not over yet as some Magitech troopers manage to climb aboard, and it's not long before Imperial dropships are following close behind. Noctis is all but forced to warp to the dropships himself and crash them manually. He takes out 4 ships of ease, assuming the person controlling him doesn't keep getting stuck on the very shock troopers that are about to explode and take the whole ship down, but he soon manages to warp back down in the train just in time to save Prompto as Arden's holding him at gunpoint.
How long were you in the dark?
As I've said in the past, this sequence is one of the best in the entire game. As a player, everything feels wrong. Thanks to Arden acting strangely, the train coming to an abrupt stop, Prompto not sounding like himself, with the sheer stress of the 2 main combat sections in this chapter, it's so well done and so stressful. The train's also an incredible set piece for both cutscenes and playable segments, and this isn't even the best example of that yet. The setup is incredible, and the payoff feels absolutely horrifying the first time around. But I think the best part of it is the voice acting. Granted, the voice acting in Final Fantasy XV is already stellar, and that's just something that seems to happen in the series a lot as of late. But I hope I'm saying these names right, but Darren DePaul and Robbie Damon, the voice actors of Arden and Prompto respectively, did an incredible job playing each other's characters. It makes the whole chapter feel uncanny to say the least, to hear these characters that we know so well have such a weird cadence to their speech and saying things they usually wouldn't. Kudos to these two voice actors in specific. And God, I hope neither of them do anything really bad. So many actors and voice actors keep doing bad shit nowadays. It is stressful to be a fan of, like, anything. Also, this is, like, off the script here. I'm just looking at the cutscene again. Can we appreciate the fact that Prompto figured out what was going on and was fucking ready to shoot Arden? Point blank. Holy shit, I love this funky little guy. He is so prone to violence. Noctis, however, didn't quite think the sequence of events is as delightful as I thought it was. He's been chasing down one of his closest friends, blaming him for everything that has happened, and attempting to kill him. Furthermore, he believed that Arden was Prompto. Even though he's been friends with Prompto for years, he still believed that someone else was him. He didn't see through that clever ruse, didn't realize what he was doing until it was far, far too late. And now, for all he knows, Prompto could be dead or captured. To make things worse, by the time he awakens after getting knocked out, they're so far away from wherever it was they pushed Prompto off the train. There's no way to know if he's okay. He's in disbelief and begs Ignis to stop the train so they can go back and look for him, but they can't. For all Noctis knows, another person he cares about could be dead, and it's all his fault. And yet again, he doesn't even get a chance to grieve or reflect. He instead gets pitched into a fight with a concerning amount of demons. This tunnel is incredibly well lit. There shouldn't even be demons here. So why then are there so many of these near Tenebrae? The sheer amount of them is a bad omen, and to make things worse, Noct can't take them all out on his own. It takes Leviathan's interference to ensure the train arrives safely. Perhaps in Noctis' head, it just makes the passengers another group of people that he could not protect on his own. The party finally arrives at Tenebrae and finds it to be in ruins. At first, they think Aranea is at fault when they run into her, but by this point, she has defected from the Imperial Army, and proceeds to inform them that the Empire unleashed demons upon Tenebrae. She agrees to help keep the passengers safe, and actually later is seen in episode Prompto, where she knocks some sense into the titular character, when he thinks that the party doesn't care about him. Noct is then directed to speak to one of the Flore's retainers, who had some important information to pass on to him.
My word, is that you, Prince Noctis?
Yeah. Have we...
Oh, blessed be the stars. Just look at what a fine young man you've grown into. I am Maria, a retainer in service to House Flore. I doubt you'll remember me after these long years.
Can't say I do.
Don't worry. Who I am is of little import in light of what I wish to discuss. Lady Lunafreya risked everything to spirit the ring of the Lucii away from the Citadel. Did she deliver it to you?
Yeah.
Stars above! My fears have been assuaged. Lord Ravis, too, will be overjoyed to hear this news.
Ravis, too?
I beg of you, please, see the ring to Noctis, on my behalf. Already, my flesh has begun to fail me.
No, I cannot accept it. By your hand. It must be done. To deliver the ring and inspire the king is your calling. You mustn't fall.
But I lack the strength to go on.
Find it, Lunafreya. You have the will. Go to Noctis. Show him the truth of your heart.
I understand you will go hence to the Imperial capital.
Yeah.
Lord Ravis has King Regis's glaive in his safekeeping, and it was his wish to return it to you, my prince. Though I imagine it will not be easy for you to find each other.
I'll get it from him somehow.
I pray it shall be so.
This further goes to show the toll that the Ring of the Lucii takes on its holder, and serves to paint Ravis in a much better light compared to the way that Noctis and the player would have been perceiving him in. According to a good few newspapers and radio reports heard previously on the train, he had been sentenced to death by the Empire due to what happened in Altissa, but promptly disappeared soon after. But the last time we seen him in the main game, he didn't think Noctis was worthy of being the chosen king. Clearly, his opinion has changed. But he's not the only Nox Fleury sibling we get an insight on, as on the way back to the train, a little girl stops Noctis to talk to him.
Prince Noctis!
Yeah?
Prince Noctis, were you excited to marry Lady Lunafreya? Because she was really excited to marry you. She looked so happy the day her dress arrived. She really loved you, Prince Noctis.
Thank you.
At first, the father had mourned the fate of his chosen son. Yet in Tenebrae, the two found solace. It was not the Oracle who assuaged their fears, but the girl. She holds the true power.
I have little to offer a king, other than the voice afforded the Oracle. Nevertheless, and I'm afraid you might find this foolish, but to be together with Noctis again, even if only for a short while, it would mean the world to me. I do not seek to guide him, merely to stand beside him.
Lady Lunafreya worried she was burdening you with the wedding. That's not true, is it?
No, not at all.
God, these two were so excited to marry each other. Even though they hadn't seen each other in years, they cared so deeply for each other. Yes, Luna was committed to her duties as the Oracle, but she did genuinely love Noctis. It's hard to tell if this information would be reassuring or devastating to him. Frankly, it could go either way. But there's no time to ponder this. They're so close to Gralia now as the sun sets on the last dawn Noctis would ever get to see. It gets colder and colder as they near the Imperial capital, as they first have to pass the remains of the Galatian, Shiva. It's not long until the train is stopped, and the party has to clear out some demons before they can proceed onwards. However, these demons turn out to be the least of everyone's concerns, as the snowstorm seems to have moved inside somehow. And there's a certain uninvited visitor aboard this train, though it seems like he never left it in the first place.
Hey, Noct!
What's up?
You better get in here. Something's
Got
not
it.
right. Come on,
Be there in
Iggy.
a sec.
Right.
No way. You! Hold it! That son of a bitch. What the hell? Stop! Stop, damn it! Where is he? Where's Prompto?
Oh, there you are. I'm worried about your friends. They've fallen and they can't get up. Why not lend them a hand?
Noctis sounds horrified here, likely terrified for his remains for his lives and desperate to figure out what happened to Prompto. However, he doesn't attack on sight this time. After all, he was fooled before. What if he attacks and accidentally hurts Gladio or Ignis this time? He's already lost so much, gotten so many people hurt or killed. It's lucky, then, that the Glacian interferes, seemingly killing Arden herself. It's a bold choice to kill your main villain before the final battle, but what do I know? Gentiana, or Shiva as I should call her, gives Noct some exposition about the history of the world, the connection between her and Ifrit, the way she got killed, and, most importantly, foretells the oncoming darkness.
In the days that follow the war, while the Six are still asleep, the pyre burner is sought by a man who draws him away from the light. His peril is sensed by the Frostbearer. She rushes to his aid, only to be felled by the foreign hordes. Those masses are now one with the darkness. Darkness that before long will swallow the Six and the star they protect. This star's fate no longer rests in the hands of the gods. It sits on the shoulders of the Chosen. Deliver this world from darkness and grant my love release.
I promise I will.
But that's not all, as much more importantly, she passes on the unfulfilled wishes Lunafreya had, the longing she felt, how badly she wanted to be with Noctis. But she knew what was to become of her, that even in death her duty would come first. This game is a story of characters being utterly doomed by their devotion, and by what the gods have ordained for them. But at least Gentiana was able to do some good, and was able to tell Noctis of what happened and give him the trident of the Oracle.
When the boy begins his existence on this star, the girl is met by the High Messenger. It is ordained that she will work with him to return the light. The girl reaffirms that promise. The High Messenger is moved by the girl's determination, her heart warmed by the girl's benevolence. Her faith in mankind is restored once more.
Sister, cease this madness. That boy will never be king.
Noctis is chosen. It is ordained. You of all people should know.
I know that you are throwing your life away.
That may be. But it's my choice. If only... If only I could hear his voice once more. If we could laugh together as we did as children. If we could live out our days together as we once dreamed.
Wherefore does the lady weep?
Forgive me. I vowed to only cry where prying eyes cannot see the tears in mine.
Yet others need not hide their grief. Is she so different from them?
No. She is no different at all. She wants exactly what they do. To be with the one she loves. But want though she may, it is not to be.
The lady's thoughts have been hurt. The love she bears the king shall never fade. And, in time, her feelings shall be known unto him.
Gentiana.
And if the words are not spoken from her lips, then the messengers shall see that they are heard. The god's favor and the lady's love shall be with him evermore. Thus it is promised between the oracle and her familiar.
I am undeserving of your kindness. Thank you.
words go with him, so shall my blessing.
Yeah. Thanks.
O King of Kings, restore the light unto this world.
Farewell, dear Noctis.
Luna, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you. Not even when you needed me most. There was so much you wanted to say. So much I wanted to say. And now, I'll never have the chance. I'm so sorry.
I won't let you down.
I know you won't.
Luna. You and I will be together again someday. I promise.
Even now, Luna is just out of reach. Despite the blessing of the goddess Shiva and the knowledge that Lunafreya is watching over him, Noct still can't reach out to her, can't embrace her, can't properly say goodbye. Even in this goodbye, the weight of their respective roles weighs on him. This barely counts as closure for them, and yet, this is somehow the most Noctis is able to grieve throughout this entire game. It's a painful goodbye, one that he should have never had to utter in the first place. But at least he can avenge her, and the party is okay. They're able to head on back for the train and find somewhere less chilly to go to. And the party can continue onwards to Gralea, right?
I feel I've earned the right to call you Noct. For a moment I felt death's chill wind. Such is the might of the gods. But then I remembered I'm immortal. Such is my blessing and curse. Your attack hurt me, nevertheless. My feelings, at least. And after all the memories we've shared, remember this. I should have asked if you remember him. Truly a blast from the past. Nay. You mustn't take what's not yours.
Where is he?
He? The little gunman's a short shot away.
Where?
Where else but Gralea, the seat of the Empire? I'm sure he'll be delighted to see you. And you might even find your crystal. With all these demons about, you could certainly use it. Off you go, then. I wouldn't want to keep you from your friend.
I can't imagine what it'll be like.
Swarming with demons, but you knew that.
Huh. Don't remind me.
Once we arrive, we'll make for the keep.
The keep?
Zegnautus, an Imperial megafortress said to be impregnable.
with Prompto and the crystal inside it.
What goes in must come out. So, are we buying the story that the crystal can purge demons?
The proof is in the purging, but it does stand to reason. We've observed that as the nights have grown longer, the demon hordes have grown stronger. If they are in fact averse to the crystal's light, it could save not only Lucis, but the world.
We'll find out once we take it back.
The hell?
What is it?
My guess, something to sidetrack us.
Arden's immortality was a significant, terrifying reveal, but at least now the party knows they're going in the right direction. Unless Arden is lying, they'll be able to fight both Prompto and the Crystal in Gralia. However, it's going to be difficult to just waltz right into the Imperial capital, but not for the reason that one may think. It's not human infantry or blockade or any kind of magic attack that blocks the way, but instead...
What now?
Whoa! Let's get to work.
What's wrong?
The weapons. They're stuck.
Come on!
Demons. So many demons swarm the train and there's so very little the party can do to combat them because they don't have access to their weaponry, and the magic that would allow Noctis' warp strike simply isn't working. They don't have the use of the king's magic, something that the player would be familiar with for the entire game. This is an incredible choice gameplay-wise, forcing the player to essentially be helpless since they think smarter instead of just going and swinging. The party has no choice but to escape in the Regalia. The party barely manages to escape the demons in the barrage of artillery fire, but not without one final loss.
That's all she's got.
It'll do. Dad. Thanks for everything.
One wouldn't think they'd be emotional about the destruction of a fictional car. However, one would be wrong. The Regalia was a gift from father to son, and frankly, it was basically part of the party. But the party must bid it farewell. There's no going back after all, especially when the party is soon split up in a ruined, abandoned city that's absolutely swarming with demons.
Hey! Ignis! Gladio!
Look at you, all by lonesome.
You again. You know, for an Imperial Chancellor, you are one sick son of a bitch. Demons, the hell do you want? Leave me alone. This is getting out of hand.
Noctis has no choice but to run. There's no way to go back and fight Gladio and Ignis despite how scared he sounds. There's no way to know if they're alright, to know if they're alive. For all he knows, there's no way for anyone involved to protect themselves. He certainly can't fight right now. Sure, Arden might actually grant Ignis and Gladio their weapons back, as we see in the alternate chapter, but Noctis doesn't know that. What will become of his friends? How can he save them and purge the demons if he can't even fight? Well, perhaps there's one thing he can do. No, one thing that he must do. Noctis had to step up as a king eventually. He had to come into his own, and with no other way to defend himself, he has to put on the ring. It is a powerful item, but its power comes at a cost. It drains your MP bar of basically all of its effects, and furthermore it looks like it takes a notable physical toll on Noctis, making his veins or nerves on his right arm glow as he uses it. The more he uses it in quick succession, the brighter it is, and despite its tremendous power, it's not a weapon. Noctis is still in danger if more than a couple enemies are on his heels and his MP is low. No matter your stats or your level, no matter how many times you've replayed this game, and no matter if this is a New Game Plus save file or not, Zegnautus Keep is an incredibly dangerous dungeon. And in my opinion, it's the best one in the entire game, and I'll explain why as I go along. Noctis has no choice but to continue onwards, likely preparing himself for an impossible task. After all, this is the heart of the Niflheim Empire. There's bound to be legions of soldiers found within. This has to be a forced stealth section, right? Well, it isn't. There's surprisingly little resistance as Noctis makes his way deeper and deeper within the keep.
Dead quiet. Where'd everybody go?
The only trace of human life that's really seen, or in this case heard in this whole thing, is, well, Arden, as he taunts poor Noct over the aircon system within the base. He's just watching as we run around the keep like a rat in a trap. He's outright fucking with us this entire time, and it's part of the reason why this dungeon is so good. These hallways are windy and confusing, identical, but not. We need to find our way through whilst finding and upgrading keycards to be able to progress onwards. Whilst doing so, we have to evade or fight these Magitech troopers that are acting strangely, lumbering around like they're zombies.
Something different about them. Something off.
If one of them notices you, have to try to fight with your severely limited moveset. Of course, you can try to hide before they even spot you, but that doesn't even feel safe, especially as I learned this time around that they can drag you out of your hiding place. You also fight your fair share of demons while you're here, but why are they so deep within the keep? This is like the peak of Grolian civilization. This is the heart of their empire. Why are there so many? And then, of course, there's Arden. For so much of the game, Arden's been strangely passive for a Final Fantasy villain. Sure, you might be able to clock him immediately as the main villain as early on as your first meeting, but he's still weird. He's cryptic, clearly holding all of his cards close to his chest, and yet for a lot of the game, he's weirdly helpful. Informing the party that the ferry isn't running, taking them to go fight Titan, rescuing them after said fight, interfering when Ravus was about to become a boss fight, helping them find Mithril whilst unintentionally giving them an ally in Aranea. But within the past few hours of gameplay, he's started to show his true colors. Killing Luna, tricking Noctis into pushing Prompto off the train, the reveal that he's immortal. Things have just seemed more and more sinister as time has gone on, which brings us to where we are now.
Too quiet for comfort.
How does it feel to be powerless? Can't help your friends if you can't help yourself.
Gotta hurry and find them, wherever they are.
Can't you simply taste the air of foreboding? Must be tiring having to run all the time. That magic is a royal disappointment. It's all coming along swimmingly, isn't it?
Arden is watching, waiting, commenting on everything we're doing. He's out of reach. We couldn't even try to kill him if we wanted to. And even if we tried, it'd be a useless attempt anyways. He'd shake it off like it was nothing. I think it makes things feel worse, honestly. There's nothing we can try to do or plan out other than just putting one foot in front of the other, even when we keep getting tricked and put into more and more dangerous situations. Speaking of, we don't seem to be the only one in a sticky situation. We see Prompto a couple times, first in the hallway, though we get stopped by a shock trooper grabbing Noctis' leg and trying to take both him and itself out at the same time. We see him just a little ways up a stairwell, but when we turn the corner, we see a Magitech trooper lumbering in the direction that he was running in, as Arden gives some helpful commentary.
Poor Prompto must be feeling the heat right about now.
And frankly, that only seems to be confirmed as we go a bit further and see a beat-up looking Prompto stuck behind a locked gate. Noctis is frantic to get to him. He has visual confirmation that he's alive, but that doesn't mean that he's okay, physically and mentally. Not after all that's happened. We have to get to him as quickly as we can, and we do! But not exactly.
Damn it! It won't budge!
Noct, help me!
Get out of my way! Another trick. Back to square one.
Ah, you should have seen the look on your face. You'd best hurry. Next time, it might really be your friend. Are you certain it wasn't the real thing? Wouldn't want to make a mistake. Oh, it's just so unfair.
This is just rubbing salt in the wound for Noctis at this rate. To have hope and desperation mounting in equal measure as he desperately tries to seek out and rescue Prompto, only for said hopes to be dashed. It was another trick, more the same. All Noct wants at this point is his friends to be safe and sound, but they're so out of reach. There's so very little that he can do. All he's able to do is continue. So he does, with some more helpful suggestions from Arden.
Your heart's desire, so close now. Soon it will be within your grasp. I suggest you take the central elevator. It will take you to your goal.
Aren't you helpful now?
Alas, following that advice is not as easy as one would think. The elevator needs power. To generate a supply of power needs a key card, and there's a demon. A giant demon patrolling the path that he needs to take to even try to get the key card. And if you alert any enemy in that, a bunch of Magitech troopers will come barreling down on your head. But what other choice does Noctis have? He has to press onwards, and all things considered, it's relatively easy to sneak past the demon, even whilst Arden is seeming intent on worsening Noctis' sense of guilt.
If a king cannot protect himself, how is he to protect others?
It's a low blow. A truly low blow. Noctis has lost so much. Can he truly protect his friends in this state? Are they even still alive? It's hard to say, but the sooner he can get to the central elevator, the sooner he can reunite with his friends, but... well, he's just walked into another trap. He gets set upon by another giant demon, and the walkway that he was on is shattered. He doesn't die in the fall though, and instead finds something and someone that helps him out a bit, though at an ultimate cost. This was a trap, obviously, but not one that was set to hurt or kill Noctis, not of how intentionally it was set up. Noct didn't die from the fall. Ravis's corpse and King Regis' sword were left there so deliberately after Arden killed Ravis, which is something that we see he did in Ignis and Gladio's version of the chapter. But even without the context, it's such a tragic end for him. But there is a final gift from King Regis, a weapon that'll help him get through this dangerous situation alive. I want to point out something about the Sword of the Father. It not only does the least amount of damages to Noctis' health bar, but it's one of only 2 royal arms that doesn't wound him upon being retrieved. Every other royal arm strikes him square in the chest, but the Sword of the Father and the Trident of the Oracle don't hurt him. Even in death, even when just their weapons remain, the last remnants of Lunafreya and Regis do not harm Noct. Not yet, anyways. Noctis presses onwards with even more confidence than before. After all, it is outright safer to proceed now. You have a weapon. The next section doesn't have much. We just have to power a good few generators back on while dodging demons and Magitech troopers so we can proceed. What is interesting is the section that follows directly afterwards. The one that explains the origins of demons.
The Empire made considerable inroads into the science of demons. Well, after I showed them the way, of course. We'd managed to make demons. Right here.
Make?
Your head can do more than wear a crown. Use it. Ever wonder where demons come from? Once upon a time, they were children of nature. Beasts and men. Oh, and you've killed so many. The infantry units you callously dub MTs all began as babes in this very facility. Imprinted with serial codes and incubated until they were strong enough to fight. What a pity. Innocent souls fated to suffer at the hands of a foreign king. Well, not so empty after all, are they? The most fascinating tidbit about your dear Prompto.
What?
Turns out he's not empty either. He's got quite the skeleton in his closet.
God, this reveal is so well done. I absolutely love it. Demons have been a mystery for most of the game. We find a lot of monsters in this game that are just normal wildlife, so why are demons so weird? Why do they lurk in the dark? How have they been getting stronger as the nights have grown longer? Why was the Empire harvesting demons? And of course, why is the stronghold of the Empire completely devoid of human life? Even if a person playing the game isn't actively reflecting on and trying to figure out what the hell they are, they're certainly weird. And we finally get answers. They're not really pretty either. It is horrifying as a player to know that we have been cutting down beasts and people this entire game during hunts, dungeons, and basically anything concerning the Empire. But as for Noct, this has to be petrifying, partially because of the guilt that comes with knowing that he's been slaughtering people. After all, we don't know how sentient the demons are. One does speak to the party in the dungeon pretty early in the game. But that's not all. Arden talked about Magitech troopers and Prompto in basically the same breath. The implications of that are unnerving, and the idea that the Imperial Chancellor knows something about a dear friend more than the rest of the party does is just as worrying. What has been going on behind the scenes? The stress of all of this makes it even more important for Noctis to find Prompto, to reunite the rest of the party, and to purge the demons using the crystal's power. Things only get worse though. The safety and well-being of Ignis, Gladio, and Prompto are clearly something that Noctis worries about, and therefore, it's a weak point that Arden seems all too happy to exploit.
Where are your friends? You don't think they ran off without you? You still haven't found Gladio? Only a matter of time before Ignis bumbles into a trap. You must feel very much alone right now.
It's likely that had an intended dual effect on Noctis. First, stressing him out even more about the rest of the party. But second, it only makes Noctis more hasty and less wary of a trap that he proceeds to waltz right into. But of course he can't die that easily. In fact, through some stroke of luck, Gladio and Ignis show up right before Noctis gets fried. It's a happy reunion, though it's overshadowed by the party's combined worries about Prompto and the fact that Gladio and Ignis were only able to get here thanks to the Chancellor's so-called help. But there is some levity to be found even in this unnerving and dismal situation as they're finally able to find Prompto. The real one, at last. He's beat up and strung up like he's been crucified, but it's him, the real him, safe and sound.
Hey, you alright?
Are you hurt? Do you need help?
I'm fine. Thank you, Noct.
No sweat.
Tell me, were you worried about me?
Of course I was. What kind of question is that?
Of course. That's why you came. Like I believed you would.
Prompto.
That's why I told myself I couldn't die. Not until I could see you. And hear you tell me I'm not a fake. And I'm the real me.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. Everything's alright now.
At long last, everyone is alive and okay and safe. Well, safe-ish. Though everyone's worse for wear, I think this must have been a huge burden off of everyone's shoulders. The party falls right back into their usual banter as if literally nothing had changed, though they're willing to offer support when Prompto reveals something big about himself.
Door's locked.
That's coming from within. Is there no way through?
There's a way. So, MTs, they've got those code prints. Just like I do.
Do they? Never looked.
Yeah. So, as it turns out, I'm one of them. Not exactly something I could tell people growing up in Lucis. Still, You guys are like the only friends I've ever known. I just hope that things can stay the way they were.
Whatever. Who cares where you were born? I don't see you turning against us. Not now or ever.
Thanks, guys. Still, I can't change where I came from. What I am.
Since when does where you come from matter to you? You never once treated me as a prince.
He's got you there.
Never so much as a highness.
We're done here. Come on, crowned citizen.
You're one of us, right?
Unless you'd rather not be.
I know I've talked enough about how much I love the main party of this game, but this is why I love them so much. They care so much about each other, they always have each other's back, and Noct wants nothing more than to keep everyone safe. He tries so hard to support them, physically and mentally, and upon this reveal, he's not mad at Prompto or horrified or anything. He doubles down on Prompto being his friend and his origins not mattering. The whole party follows his lead, and at the end of episode Prompto, we see a scene take place just a little bit after that where they have a moment of downtime to talk.
Hey, I'm sorry. For what? For falling right into his trap? And for hurting you like that.
I know, right? How could you possibly do such a horrible thing after everything we've been through?
Nah. It's okay. You're not the only one who fell for it.
Once this is all over, I say we break down the borders. Come together as one nation.
Huh?
I mean, what does it matter where you're from, anyway?
You know, I never thought I'd say this, but you sounded like a real king for a second.
Better late than never. I'm gonna make this world a better place. You with me?
Uh-huh. Ever at your side.
Noct just cares so much about Prompto. Going to make sure they could talk about what happened one-on-one, apologizing about what happened on the train, doubling down on an idea to try and ensure Prompto feels accepted. After all, he has shown signs of imposter syndrome and not feeling like a real member of the group this entire game. And it's clear that learning that he was meant to be an MT has only made that worse. So doubling down on the fact that he's part of the group and trying to make a plan that will ensure that he does legally have no weight of thinking that he doesn't belong is incredible. Noctis has such a big heart. He cares about so many people, but especially for these three friends of his. They're also loyal to each other and he's ready to fight for them, no matter what it takes, no matter the cost. Now if they can just get to that central elevator safely and get to the crystal, everything will be okay. They'll be fine.
Your Majesty, your precious crystal awaits you. To liven things up, I thought I'd take you on a stroll down memory lane. Of course, memories decay with time.
Kill me. End it.
Is that Ravus?
Or what's left of him.
This is horrifying. I mean, it's cool as fuck, story-wise and just as a boss design. It's also a incredible bit of foreshadowing, as afterwards Ignis wonders aloud what kind of fiend makes demons of men. But it's horrifying. Ravus has been a dick, sure, but he didn't deserve this. Plus, he's had quite the character arc, going from despising Noctis to trying to return Regis' sword to him, all whilst wanting to protect Lunafreya, his younger sister. He deserved to rest in peace. Well, no, he deserved to live. But instead, he was killed and turned into an abomination of his former self, having lost control, but he's clearly still there in his head, pleading for the party to kill him and cursing Arden for a reason that the party doesn't know yet. This boss fight is the epitome of a mercy kill. The last of the Oracle's bloodline, now twisted and demonified, is laid to rest. But even then, our party doesn't have time to rest as hordes and hordes of demons swarm the main party, and Noctis is forced to make a horrible, horrible choice.
They just keep coming!
Noct must go on alone. What? If you can obtain the crystal's power, we may yet be able to turn the tide. Elsewise, we are all like to perish here.
Biggie's right. It's our only chance.
But what about you? We'll manage somehow. Just get moving.
You could still get to the crystal if you went on your own.
Get back.
Your friends will have to stay behind.
The party is being swarmed with an unending amount of demons, more than they've ever dealt with at a time before, at least without help from the gods. And now Noctis meant to leave them behind? To leave them without any idea if they'll live or if they'll die? It's a decision that no one should have to make. But what choice does Noctis have? If he can get to the crystal in time, maybe he can purge the demons. He can still save the party and the world as a whole if he hurries. So he has no choice. There's nothing that, as a player, that we can do other than run. So he does.
You better think fast. I don't envy you your decision.
This is the way to the crystal.
Betraying your friends for the greater good. The mark of a monarch. Step forth, your majesty. If you wish to obtain the crystal's power, you must be prepared to lose all else.
Buzz off!
Want some?
Gate closed.
Don't die on me.
The door closes and locks behind Noctis. There's no going back. No way to go back even if he tried. There's no way to know if everyone will be okay. There's no way to know if this will be the last he sees of them.
Do you suppose your dear friends are still alive? Those who died for you, do you ever wonder what went through their minds? Can you even recall their final words?
I'll come back for you all. I swear.
Desperately, Noctis finally makes his way to the crystal. This whole game, he finally reaches his goal. It has to work. It has to! If it doesn't, his friends in the world are doomed, so he makes a desperate run for it. This is it. This is what he's been searching for. And it has to help him, right? Right?
Please. Help me stop the demons.
Why?
Unharmed by the light, the chosen king. Allow me to regale you with a tale. In an age long past, an incurable scourge ravaged mankind. A tiny menace that twisted men into monsters, the likes of which you've seen. In Lucis lived a savior who could cure the afflicted. His body would come to host myriad demons, and countless lives be spared. But a jealous king, one not yet chosen by the crystal, ostracized and demonized this healer of the people, making a true monster of him. I gave you my name earlier, but you should know that it was not the name given to me at birth. Lucis Caelum is my proper name. You'll never guess whose name is Unia was. Killing this mortal will bring me scant satisfaction. Claim the crystal's power. Arise as its champion. Only once the crystal and king are no more can I know redemption. Come back soon. I shall keep your friends company till you are ready.
Gather strength, O chosen. The fate of this world falls to the King of Kings. His providence consecrated in the divine light of the crystal. So it is ordained, the revelation of Bahamut. The heart of the crystal, wherein lies the soul of the star. And it is in this place that the king will gain the power to fulfill his calling. They stand against the darkness and abide in hope. Sustained by faith unfaltering that their king shall arise and bring deliverance. By the covenants awakened, the Sikhs have seen the coming of the prophesied hour. A time when the crystal shall have shed the entirety of its light unto the ring. Only then, once the sacred ring is replete, can the true king complete his ascension. And only by the true king's hand can the immortal accursed be banished and the light restored to this world. A man cursed with life eternal, whose immortality stems from the self-same scourge that wrought the demons. One so impure of body and soul was deemed unworthy of the crystal's light and forbidden to ascend. His mind twisted by spite and bent on revenge, the usurper came to bring darkness down upon our world. Only the true king, chosen by the crystal and guarded by his forebears, can end the accursed's madness. It is the sole means to ending the immortal accursed. A power greater than even that of the Six, purifying all by the light of the crystal and the glaives of rulers past. Only at the throne can the chosen receive it, and only at the cost of a life his own. The King of Kings shall be granted the power to banish the darkness, but the blood price must be paid. To cast out the usurper and usher in dawn's light will cost the life of the chosen. Many sacrificed all for the king, so must the king sacrifice himself for all. Now enter into reflection, let the light of providence shine within.
Oh, I have so many thoughts about this. So many that I've been excited to talk about ever since I started this series. I had to do a slow build up, otherwise I would have been obnoxious about everything with Noctis. And I probably wouldn't have ever talked about the rest of the party. So let's get into it. We're back to where we started earlier, how I went in depth about the prophecy, at least what the prophecy entails. But now we get into something I want to make an entire video about. That being the corruption of the gods, Bahamut himself specifically. I have never had pure loathing for a Final Fantasy VII before playing this game, but I've got vehement hatred for this version of Bahamut. The prophecy of a chosen king is more like one of two sacrificial lambs. First, there is Noctis, the savior of the world who must absorb the light of the crystal so he might die and destroy the Star Scourge himself. And then there's Arden, the Chancellor of Niflheim, whose real name we've just learned. Arden Lucis Caelum, the brother of the founder king of Lucis. He who was doomed to take the Star Scourge into himself, so 2,000 years later, the descendant of his treacherous brother would kill him. These two parallel each other perfectly, both basically doomed to absorb basically opposite elements and then destroy each other. I'll go more in depth about Arden's side of things in my next video, but this isn't fair. Noctis is so young. He has the age where, yeah, you're technically an adult, but you're not a real adult. In the States, he wouldn't even be allowed to buy alcohol. He has already seen more tragedy than everyone should, even at age 20. He has lost so much, and now his fate and the only way he can protect the people in the world he cares about is to die. He doesn't even have a choice. In the game, there's no way to refuse. But even if there was, it wouldn't go well for poor Noctis. What you see on screen now is a recreation of something that was once meant to be in an earlier version of the story. It may not be canon now, but honestly I like to treat it as canon because I think this is something Bahamut would actually do to someone refusing their fate. This footage was recreated or reconstructed by YouTube user Lufus Nox Flore. I'll link their video in the description down below if you want to give it a full watch yourself. Major kudos to them and full credit to them as well for this snippet of the video that you're watching right now. In this earlier version of the game, it seems that Noctis was physically trapped in the prison of Angelgard, which we do see him in later when he awakens after a decade within the crystal. But here, it's completely closed off. Noct can't go anywhere, can't escape. Eventually, Bahamut tells him to enter now into reflection like he does in the main game. Only then does the Bahamut tell Noctis that he has to die to fulfill his destiny. Understandably, he protests and demands to be let out. It looks like you can wander around in this room until you actually agree to Bahamut's terms, and the game only progresses when you do. And that is fucked up, right? God, I wish we get something like this in the main game, because honestly, I legitimately cannot see Noctis just accepting that's what his fate is. Honestly, him accepting that confuses me as much as the fact that the technical canonical ending of episode Arden has Arden just accept what his role is too. Choosing to reject his fate is apparently what would lead to the alternate ending in the Dawn of the Future novel. Why the fuck do both these characters just accept their fate? It kind of feels out of character for them because they both had a lot to live for. I wish this game didn't end up in development hell. It deserves so much better. But this is the version of the game we got, so it's the version that I will analyze. Noctis goes into reflection for 10 years, and according to the Dawn of the Future novel, he basically gets the whole of human history, like, just jammed into his head. There's a moment where Noctis is reflecting upon everything and the sacrifices everyone's made, and chastises himself for depending on the party as much as he did, and for complaining at points. He thinks, and I quote, "Through it all, they continue to hold their hands out to him, to trust his companions by accepting their help with full knowledge of what it costs them. Accepting help without that regard was not building a relationship of trust. It was the act of a child, still hopelessly dependent on others." Up to that point, Noctis had depended on others for nearly everything, and all the while he'd sulked and complained. What could he offer back to those who had helped them nonetheless? May I point out again that Noctis is literally 20. I'm sorry, I feel like Noctis seeing the whole of history and being informed of all the sacrifices made for him is like the godly version of guilt tripping. Yes, people made sacrifices for him, willingly, because they loved and cared for him. That is something that people do, especially in the Final Fantasy franchise. It wasn't his fault, and furthermore, it was okay for him to accept help without knowing. He was only human. He couldn't have been omniscient. No, and without that support system, he would have died or self-destructed or gotten captured. It wasn't the act of a child, and neither was struggling and complaining. He got a lot of trauma all at once while seeing the world for the very first time. His is a coming-of-age story that went horribly, horribly wrong in the worst possible way. This goes into speculation territory, but I legitimately think Noctis was horribly manipulated into making a certain decision, into being fine with this. Seeing the whole scope of human history would make his troubles seem so small. Seeing the sacrifices his friends made all but sear into his mind would make him feel even more guilty than he already did. And then seeing the future makes this seem like an inevitability. It doesn't feel like Noctis is making this choice either. He's pushed into it whilst in a situation with no support system. It's not the first time that the gods have done this in this game. Arden is pushed into his fate after he has lost everything. The love of his life was killed by his treacherous brother. The crystal in the gods cast him aside due to the scar surge he held within him, a byproduct of the very ability that the gods gave him to heal people. He was sealed away for 2 millennia, lost himself while demythifying countless people, and was then told that he couldn't take his revenge because of the prophecy of the chosen king. He had no support system. It has been 2,000 years. Everyone he knew is dead. He accepts his fate because he doesn't have a choice. In episode Ignis sees a vision of what's to come and that's his fate. He knows his best friend is going to die. In the canon timeline, he tries to dissuade Noctis from continuing this quest. In the alternative one, he outright says he doesn't care what happens to the world as long as Noctis is safe. But before that, a mysterious voice insists that this has to be Noctis' fate, that this is how it must be. And both in this DLC and the main game, the voice in Bahamut himself double down on the idea that Arden is just an unspeakable evil and just a power-hungry bastard, when that's not actually the case. In the Dawn of the Future novel, Bahamut tries to do the same thing again. He claims that Lunafreya must die and must suffer the same affliction that Arden does to assure mutual destruction and to purge the world of the Scourge. But this time it doesn't work. Lunafreya has a support system. She has a good friend, Sol, who decided to point out that she deserves to make decisions for herself. And in this timeline, the Scourge is vanquished with only 1 human death. Bahamut is very, very intent on his plans going the way that he has plotted them out, and in this timeline it works. 10 years later, Noctis awakens an angel guard to a changed world.
The light waxes full. Go forth to the kingdom, where the usurper awaits. Reclaim the throne and fulfill the calling of the true king.
Umbra. Be waiting in Hammerhead.
When Noctis awakens, the world is wrong. It's dark, but no stars are shining overhead. The world has a sickly green pallor to it, and there are black flecks of something in the air. And the once bustling port of Golden Key is completely abandoned, now swarming with demons. Clearly, something has gone horribly, horribly wrong in Noctis' absence. Noct runs or fights his way to the road far above Golden Key, and a truck drives up. Turns out, it's Talcott, a kid the party met whilst on the Lucian continent. But he's not a kid anymore, and he's the one who informs Noctis that it's been 10 years. He drives Noctis back to Hammerhead to meet up with the guys and gives some exposition about what happened while he was away. The party split up, Lestalum's the last stronghold left and it's flooded with refugees, and Hammerhead is now a hunter HQ. Still, despite the fact that so much has changed, the guys meet up back at Hammerhead as soon as Noctis was reported found. And so, that's where they reunite.
Hey. Hey? That's all you have to say for yourself after all this time?
Noct! It's you! It's really
Is
you!
it?
I hadn't realized.
Well, well. You kept us waiting.
Not like I wanted to. We've got catching up to do.
Let's head inside.
In some ways, everything is right in the world again. The party is together after so long, but it hurts as well. After all, they all know what's to come. And Ignis, Gladio, and Prompto have changed so much. What have they suffered over these past 10 years? What have they gone through? What trials and tribulations have they had to go through, most likely on their own? It's hard for both Noctis and the player to know. Yeah, they're together again, but the world has changed. And the time they have left is so limited. In no time at all, it's time to head back to Insomnia after literal years. They get to share one last meal together around the fire, much like they did when they first set out on their journey, and it's not really enough time to catch up. Not at all. Though, in the mid-credits scene, we do get to see their tearful goodbye.
The four of us around a campfire. How long's it been?
An eternity.
So yeah.
Out with it.
I just... Damn it. Why the hell is this so hard? So I've made my peace. Still, knowing this is it, and seeing you here now, it's more than I can take. Yeah. You're damn right it is.
Huh. You spit it out.
It's good to hear.
Well, what can I say? You guys are the best.
It's a preemptive goodbye, isn't it? A farewell between four friends. Later, they will say goodbye to each other for one final time, but that shall be between a king and his retainers. The King of Light and the Free who brought him to his final resting place. But this is a moment of vulnerability between friends, as they all mourn the fact that they won't get more time together. These four care so much about each other, and they deserve so much more time together. It honestly seems like none of them know exactly what to feel, but they know it hurts. Even after all that, Noctis and Ignis do have one final scene together if we look at the post-credits scene of episode Ignis, which I'll play now.
You know, looking back, it wasn't all bad.
I suppose we had some fun along the way.
And our fair share of trouble, too. But I don't have any regrets. Luna and you guys brought me this far. And now, I'm on my own.
No, you won't be going alone.
No, you're right. I mean, I wouldn't have made it all this way without you guys. Why stop now? In the end, I might not have you at my side, but I'll always have you in my heart. Thanks. Thanks for everything, Iggy.
The first time I saw this scene, it was less than 24 hours after I beat the main game. I was sobbing, I'm man enough to admit it. Square Enix games fucking hurt. The parallels between their first meeting and this farewell, Ignis' sheer devotion and his promise to sit by Noctis. It's so good, but it hurts so much. But alas, they can't enjoy each other's company for much longer. They have to return to Insomnia at long last. They can't procrastinate saving the world after all. Frankly, not even, the player can't even do so. Sure, there are a couple places one can rest and call Umbra in the final chapter, but it kind of feels wrong to do so. From here on out, there's no place to go but heading towards the final battle. So, they make their way to the Crown City. And as they continue, I want to call out something. It's just a little detail here, but in his royal outfit, Noctis looks so much like his father. Do you think he ever caught a glimpse of himself in a puddle or a bit of shattered glass and had a double take? Did it hurt to see his own reflection even as he willingly walked to what would essentially be his grave? What did the rest of the party think about that? It's hard to tell. But even if it does hurt, they have to continue. So off the party goes, fighting together one last time and honestly reminiscing as they go along. Also making plans for the future.
These monsters! Look what they've done to our home!
Once we take it back, we'll rebuild it better than ever.
Yeah. Just like we promised.
In no time at all, they find Kor fending off a bunch of demons. They fight alongside him, making sure that he doesn't die like a bunch of other members of the Glaives we saw on our way here. And afterwards, Kor guides the party to meet some of the remaining members of the King's Glaive. There, Noct truly takes his place as king for the first and last time, as he gives honestly, quite a supportive speech to his people.
Good news, everyone! Your king has returned!
Highness! I knew you'd come back!
Your Highness, for many moons, we have eagerly awaited the coming of this day.
Brothers and sisters, brave warriors of Lucis, you've done well these 10 years. And I thank you. You've done so much, all for my sake. Even as the darkness overcame our world, we kept the light alive in our hearts. We've all lost friends and loved ones along the way, but the one thing we never lost was hope. Brothers and sisters, I ask you to stand by me and fight at my side for the light and for the future of our world.
All hail the King of Light!
The Glaive's finally got its king.
I was so happy to have him back.
Yes, but none are happier than us.
Still, they can't linger. Even though he finally got to step up as king for the first and last time, but there's no time to rest. I mean, technically there are side quests you can do here, but I've personally never done them. It felt weird. Honestly, just like, oh, here's random side quests at the literal end of the game. So, side quests aside, the party does have to continue onwards. And so they do. And they're soon greeted by a much less friendly face.
Fashionably late, I see.
Arden.
Insomnia, the crowned city of my kingdom. I bid you a warm welcome.
What the hell's he doing?
I've prepared something special for you, Noctis.
What?
Yes, it's the same wall your father gave his life to sustain. I thought it might serve as a lovely little reminder of your daddy, dearest. Do you like it?
You're sick.
How could you say that to your own flesh and blood? I'll try to find it in my heart to forgive you by the time you reach the Citadel. My little pet will greet you at the gates.
Even though it's par for the course, looks like Arden just had to pour salt in the wound one last time. All the more reason to get to the Citadel and take him out. So, the party runs through the now blazing city of Insomnia, eventually getting to the gates of the Citadel and having to fight a literal Cerberus. I never thought that Arden would be a dog person, but here we are. The fight is arduous, but what comes after is equally dangerous, as soon demons are swarming the area whilst the wall still stands. Though that's nothing a little divine intervention can't fix.
Looks like there's no way past the wall. There's way too many of them!
And no way out of this either.
Still, we can't just give up now. Luna!
Gods above, hear my plea. Lend the chosen king your strength, that he may save our star from darkness blight.
The lady's words have reached the heavens. By the will of the oracle and the grace of the gods, a path for the king is made.
Luna. Thank you.
The fate of our star rests with you now, my king.
I honestly legitimately think that's a really cool cutscene, but even now Luna and Noct can't reach out to each other properly. They deserve a proper reunion. They deserve to be happy. They still can't reach out. It hurts, but still it's better than nothing. Perhaps seeing Lunafreya one last time gives Noctis the strength to keep going. Heaven knows he probably needs it. Also, perhaps it's not that important here, but it is fascinating to me that the gods need their combined strength to break the barriers she's shielding the Citadel. Between this and being unable to get rid of the Star Scourge, the gods are outright weaker to the power of the Lucii. Maybe it's because the Lucii are the literal Knights of the Round summon, which is historically one of the strongest in the series, especially if you look at Final Fantasy VII, but it's a little thing I'll discuss at a later date. The party continues onward, and they're soon facing down the only deity that wasn't there to help shatter the barrier around the Citadel. What really became of Ifrit has been a mystery for a good while, as we never received a blessing from it, and Luna never got a chance to talk with Ifrit. But now we know the truth of what's happened.
Ifrit, the Infernian. He doesn't share the Glacian's fondness for mankind. But you can expect a warm welcome. I shall await you above.
As baffling as it may be, a literal deity has been demonified by Arden, and we've got no choice but to fight him. Which is honestly both really cool and kinda makes me think that gods are a lot weaker than they seem to be if they can fall victim to the Star Scourge. Honestly though, all things considered plot-wise, I don't really have to pay much attention, not pay much attention, but call too much attention to this fight. So I'm just gonna gloss over it. Bahamut coming in to help at the end of Phase 1 is cool if anything. But I do legitimately think it's the worst of the initial encounters with the gods. Yeah, it's iconic, and it's a vital part of the final boss gauntlet, but the best part of this whole fight is the scene that we first saw at the very beginning of the game.
Hang in there, buddy! Stay down! We'll keep him busy!
Noct, over here! Quickly, before he strikes again!
Here comes! I got your back!
Here you go. Let's go!
Yes, this fight is very important story-wise, but it's not really all that important when it comes to actual plot. I mean, it might be if you're focusing on the gods, but I don't really care all that much about it personally, especially for the topic of this video. I might discuss it briefly in my upcoming video about Arden, but even so, let's be honest, the most important gods in this game are Bahamut, Shiva, and I think Leviathan. But anyways, they do manage to defeat the Infernian, killing it out of mercy, and the party is able to continue onwards into the Citadel, finding themselves having to take on the spirits of the Lucian kings of yore that served as Insomnia's second wave of protection, or the Old Walls they're called in the universe. They've now been twisted, demonified much like Ifrit was, and now stand in our way, if you're playing the Royal Edition or the Windows Edition of the game. It kind of baffles me that this actually wasn't in the original version of the game. I only learned that by, basically just reading wiki pages. Honestly, I like this section though, even though they does kind of feel a bit like padding, giving each party member a definite chance to show their mettle and actually give players a first chance to play as the rest of the party members if they never unlock the ability to do so in the skill tree is really cool. First comes Zephyrus, who Gladio vanquishes to protect the party one last time.
I've served as your shield through thick and thin. No matter what, I've got your back. Now and always.
Forgive me. My mind was not my own.
Then, Prompto defeats the Rogue with his sharpshooting and keen sight.
I owe not to anything. We're standing by me always. And now, it's my turn to stand by him!
Go forth, chosen king. Restore the light.
And Ignis, ever the strategist, devises a way to take down the Mystic, or, well, his first phase.
I will see to it that nothing stands in Nox's way. I will do whatever it takes, no matter the cost.
However, the Mystic, or Noctis Lucis Caelum, the founder king of Lucis, has a bit more fight in him. Still, his second phase doesn't last too long and the party comes together one last time to lay him to rest.
Not on my watch. You're up, Prompto.
My turn! Come on, Iggy!
No mercy! Go, Noct!
It's over.
It's a legitimately nice sequence of events. I do like giving the party one last chance to truly come together in a almost symbolic bit of combat. I don't really know how to describe it. But there's no more time to stall. There's no more levels to this in-depth final gauntlet. The party worked incredibly well in these final fights that are the last ones they'll ever have together. There is a bit more dialogue between the party, though. Noctis reminisces that he used to hate the throne room because his father always seemed so sad when there, and then just points out that that was probably because King Regis was probably often reminded of the fate that would soon befall his son. A fate that Noctis is willing to walk towards, just after he decides on something. A photo to bring with him.
Not much farther.
Well, shall we, Noct?
Yeah, but, hold on a sec. Prompto, can I see your photos?
Yeah.
I just need one. To take with me.
Oh. Yeah. I get it. You can take whichever you like. Gotta take one from our zany adventures. Think of all the places we've been. All the shops along the way.
Always something new around every corner.
No car like the Regalia. Took us around the world and back.
Ah, yes. It wouldn't have been a road trip without her. How about a shot of us as we set off from Caem?
I can't beat that. A shot of all four of us together.
Through it all, we had each other.
Then it's settled. That's the one? No backsies?
Yeah.
As I think I've said before, I love the way Final Fantasy XV's photo mode works. Not the extra mode they threw in for the Royal and Windows editions of the game, mind you, but the way Prompto snaps photos at random. It's not controlled by the player, and instead it's character controlled. Snapshots of combat, the scenery, random selfies and posed photos. It feels more real than the usual photo mode found in these games. But you'd never think it'll be plot relevant. You might just shrug it off as a mechanic. Like, yeah, okay, this Ignis cooks, both as a character thing, and to give the party a good way to use buffs and to legitimize a reason for camping instead of staying at a hotel. Gladio finds items. Prompto snaps photos. Noctis fishes. You don't really think that it'll be important to the story. So the game forcing us to remember these are actual photos and universe of memories attached to them is painful. Hearing the party reminisce as you look through potentially a couple hundred photos, trying to figure out which is the best one to have Noctis bring with him to his final resting place, gives this moment a sense of finality. There's no going back after this. There's no more memories to be made and captured through a photo lens. This is the end of the party's journey together. And then there's just one more foe to vanquish.
What is that?
I'm afraid you're out of luck. The throne brings you here. It seats only one.
Off my chair, Jester. The king sits there.
Oh, Noct. How I have waited for this. Longer than you could ever know. Tonight, the dreams of the blood royal come to an end.
Spite's all that's kept him going.
Talk about a grudge.
Arden sits the throne. Not for long. This is my ascension. What did you do?
They have no place in this. The Battle of Kings. Come, Noctis.
We really should have known that this would have been absolutely fucked up. First things first, holy shit, those visages of the corpses of Lunafreya, King Regis, Emperor Aldercapt, and someone that's either meant to be Nyx Ulrich from the Kingsglaive movie or the playable Glaive from the Comrades DLC are very grim. It's so clearly meant to be one final dig at the people Noctis lost and were unable to protect, the people that were so willing to give up their lives. Except for Emperor Aldercapt, that... Sorry if you hear background noise, my cat's being chaotic. Anyways, Emperor Aldercapt doesn't really seem too impactful. I think it's just a reminder of Arden went so long manipulating the fuck out of the Emperor. Still, these were still people that Noctis was unable to protect. What I'm more focused on here is the dialogue. First, this whole final chapter has been stuffed full of parallels from the beginning of the game. Meeting up with the party one last time at Hammerhead, the place that we started this game at. And now there's the parallel between this.
I'm afraid you're out of luck. The throne brings you here. It seats only one.
And the first time they saw Arden.
I'm afraid you're out of luck.
Are we?
The boats bring you here.
What about them?
Well, they'll not take you forth.
So that's neat, but Noctis' response goes so hard and quickly overshadows that first bit of dialogue, as does his certainty in what he must do. He's calling himself a king at last. He's proceeding without fear, and upon reaching the throne, he swears with absolute certainty that this ends now. And so it does. The boss fight begins.
The once helpless and hapless prince. Is he now ready to claim his crown? Don't let us down. Let the games begin.
No. Now they end.
This first phase of Arden's boss fight is honestly exactly my favorite kind of boss fight in video games. The kind where the opponent's moveset feel like almost a mirror of your own. The one where it feels like you're fighting yourself or another player. It reminds me of fights like the final fight against Riku in Kingdom Hearts 1, the battle against Roxas in Kingdom Hearts 2, the Terra Xehanort fight in Terra's Route of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, Inner Agent Free from Splatoon 2's Octo expansion, or the final boss fight against Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom. I adore when the enemy's moveset and skills are similar yet different from the player character's own. And Arden, in my opinion, is an incredible example of this kind of boss fight. All of his fights in the game are honestly incredible, no matter like what main game or DLC you're looking at. It feels insanely stressful to be on the other end of constant weapon swapping and warp striking. Plus, Arden has a few tricks of his own. He can cast magic too, both the normal elemental magics used by Noctis and King Regis, along with his own darkness-infused whirlwind. He also has a laser of some kind, a giant scythe he can conjure, and most frequently in my experience, he can just kick the shit out of Noctis. Like, straight up. It just feels insulting. But Noctis manages to whittle down his health, and we transition to the second stage of the fight.
Don't worry. It's far from over.
Well, let's have it then. You and your crystal. Against all I have become.
Power of light!
Ah, a king at last!
It's the return of the mechanics seen in the Leviathan boss fight, and is just done worse. Here it's just kind of a mashing button and trying not to die simulator, but it's okay, all things considered. It's meant to be more focused on spectacle after all, though I wish it was more difficult. Honestly, we didn't need to ascend into the heavens. It could have just been a proper second phase of the fight. But what comes next is more interesting as the fight nears its end. Both Noctis and Arden are equally exhausted and wounded after their fights so far, each being evenly matched. But the fight must draw to a close even as Arden lashes out and tries to use Noctis' lingering sense of guilt and grief against him. But there's only one victor to be had in this battle.
A war of attrition, then. The kings of yore are on hand, calling you forth to oblivion. Yet when your father died, you were off playing with your friends. When your beloved died, you lay watching, powerless to stop it. You think 10 years is a long time? It is nothing to me. I have lived in darkness for ages. How you would end it. Now it is over, Majesty. What will you do? Banish the demons and bring peace? Erase me from history once more?
This time, you can rest in peace. Close your eyes. Forevermore.
I will await you in the beyond.
Despite all that's happened, despite all the pain and suffering he's caused, in a way, Noctis is being merciful here to Arden. It's surprising, but it makes sense. All things considered, everything of this damned prophecy was going to lead to their mutually assured destruction. And honestly, letting Arden finally die is an act of mercy. And I think Noctis knows that now that he's had, all of human history stuffed into his brain. It's both proper revenge and a mercy kill at the same time. Still, just because the main villain of the game has been vanquished, that doesn't mean that there's time for a happy ending. The rest of the main party are alive and well, thank goodness, but they can't celebrate their victory. It's time for Noctis to bid them farewell in a scene that parallels Regis's goodbye at the start of the game, all the way down to telling his friends to walk tall.
So this is farewell.
Yeah. Here we are.
It's all you.
No turning back now.
Prompto. Gladio. Ignis. I leave it to you. Walk tall, my friends.
Godspeed. And take care. Majesty.
The time has come.
Oh boy, this game is utterly brutal. The fact that Noctis is going to die practically alone, his final goodbye sounding formal, even though he's so clearly fond of the party with every word. It feels like the whole party is just trying to put on a brave face for each other, Noctis most of all. He must have been scared, I think, as he turns to head back to the Citadel and to the throne room. Who wouldn't be? Even though he's doing the right thing, I don't think anyone could face down their fate without a shred of fear in their heart. But he makes his way to the throne, says his final goodbyes, and... well, I don't think I could describe the scene better than it's portrayed. I know this whole video has been rather clip and cutscene heavy, but... humor me, will ya?
I'm home. I walk tall. And though it took me a while, I'm ready now. I love you all. Luna. Guys. Dad. The time we had together, I cherish. Kings of Lucis.
Come to me! Trust in me.
It's not a peaceful or painless way to go. There's something so uniquely horrible about one's own ancestors being the one that end up killing a person. The entire game has been building up to this. After all, Noct gains the power of all but 2 royal arms by the weapons in question striking him right in the chest. It's an incredible bit of foreshadowing that I don't think most people would recognize until their second playthrough. But other than that, despite being a bloodless death scene, this is utterly brutal. It's a painfully slow, lonely death that simply cannot and must not be avoided. Noct seems like he's struggling to endure it, to even keep sitting straight and keep a firm grip on his father's sword. And the fact that King Regis is the one to deal the finishing blow is horrible. Do you think Regis knew that he would be the one to deal the final blow? Do you think that in this spirit form of his, Regis chose to be the last one, in an attempt to try to keep his son company for as long as possible? To be a silent, solitary figure of support for his beloved son, only to have to be the one who ensures that he breathes his last? It hurts. So much. The somewhat triumphant scene that follows with the Scourge getting purged from the world and Arden finally getting vanquished doesn't lessen the pain of Noctis finally fading away. He made the ultimate sacrifice, and Dawn finally returns to the world as he gets to reunite with Lunafreya in the afterlife. It almost makes it worse that, well, people are going to remember Noctis, or the idea of him. After all, they'll remember Noctis Lucis Caelum, the 113th King of Lucis. The chosen King of Light, who vanquished the epicenter of the Star Scourge and whose sacrifice brought back the dawn. The sacrificial lamb chosen by the gods, who willingly brought himself to the altar and endured a slow death whilst leaving no corpse behind. But only a select few will remember Noct, the young man who loved to fish in every waterway he could. The college-aged kid who pushed his father's car too hard and too fast on his first excursion away from his home city, had to push it all the way to the nearest town of his nearest and dearest friends. The wide-eyed prince who, despite all other horrors of the world, loved his friends and his people so much he would do anything for them, even die. The boy who brought a single photo from their travels to cling to as he willingly walked to the gallows. The sacrificial lamb who tried so hard not to flinch as he was felled by his ancestors and his father's glaives, and was so willing to lay down his life to save the world. The second chosen monarch of the Lucis Caelum line who would never truly rule or sit the throne. A king only in name. It's unfair. Noctis was doomed from birth. He was never meant to live a full life, to grow old, or to truly love or see his friends flourish and prosper. And the worst part is, it didn't have to be this way. The prophecy of the gods did not need to play out like this. The canon ending of Final Fantasy XV's main campaign is actually the worst possible ending. The gods are wrong. Noctis didn't have to die. I'm only going to briefly touch on this topic as this is long enough already, but it's important to at least mention the fact that Noctis doesn't die at all in some possible timelines. After all, in episode Ignis, we see a different series of events playing out. Ignis is brought to Zegnautus Keep after Odessa, and after learning just who Arden is, he soon challenges him. And my cat is using my desk as a scratching post, ma'am. Anyways, Ignis dons the Ring of the Lucii and fights Arden quite literally to the death, willingly making a trade for the Lucian kings of old. Much like Nyx Ulrich did in the Kingsglaive movie, Ignis agreed to die so he may use the full power of the ring. He vanquishes Arden, at least for the time being, and the party reunites with Ignis. Noct clearly feels horrible, guilty that Ignis would go to such lengths to protect him. He then goes into the crystal. And when we see the end of the game of this timeline, not only is Ravensnock's foray alive, Noctis survives the final battle somehow. Along with that, Ignis isn't blinded. On the other hand, there's the way that the Dawn of the Future novel plays out. I'm definitely not getting all the way into this in this video, but the concept is that Arden refused to just accept his fate at the end of his DLC. Bahamut then fears that the Chosen King won't be enough to purge demons from the world, so he abandons that plan and functionally resurrects Lunafreya, giving her the abilities that Arden once had, that being the one to take the Star Scourge onto herself. Bahamut proceeds to try to insist that Luna needs to be the one to destroy Arden, and that there's no other way to do things, but at this point, Luna's starting to care about what it is that she wants out of life. Furthermore, when Noct gets out of the crystal and hears about this, he wants to prevent that fate from coming about. I'm not even really properly summarizing this right, but Bahamut gets pissed off that people are tired of him actually constantly dooming people to die and decides to take the most drastic measure possible, using Terraflare and destroying all human life. No one likes that idea. At all. Even the other gods. Especially Noctis and Luna, who at this rate are dead set on staying alive and keeping the others safe. So they devise a plan. Noctis, Lunafreya, and Aranea, along with the other gods, set to work on vanquishing Bahamut in the physical realm. Meanwhile, Arden actually takes the Ring of the Lucii and sacrifices himself the same way that Noct does in the main game, willingly dying in order to vanquish Bahamut in the astral realm. And this plan works! Furthermore, guess what? Noctis and Luna get to live! Straight up, the main game where we followed the Astral's plan to the letter is the most tragic timeline. Noctis and Lunafreya did not have to die to purge the Star Scourge from the world, and I think that makes the main game 10 times more tragic. Holy shit, that was a long video. The script for this one was 19,697 words long. I did not think I would have this much to say about Noctis, but here we are. Noctis is a character who was defined by the guilt that weighs heavy on his shoulders, his love for his friends and the people around them, and the very prophecy that leads to the end of his life. He deserved so much better. He deserved to have a full, happy life with the friends he cared for and the woman he loved. At least that was a possibility in one very specific alternate timeline that didn't even get made into an actual DLC because they cancelled the second waves of DLCs! Sorry, I'm fine. But next time, I will finally discuss Arden Lucis Caelum. He is easily my favorite Final Fantasy villain, and I cannot wait to talk about him. Hopefully his video will be shorter. I have no idea. Wish me luck. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of this video. It means so much to me that you did. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, maybe consider subscribing and maybe hit the like button. I intend to do a lot of media and story analyses here on this channel, primarily discussing Square Enix games, though I do have some ideas for some Sonic, Baldur's Gate, and Sea of Thieves videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm Vince, host of Vince's World of Lore, signing off.